who's the guy that co-wrote Skeleton Crew? Christopher. It's John Watts and Christopher Ford. Did you catch that interview?
Yeah. I was on the tip of my.
I don't believe you.
No, I was literally about to say Christopher Ford. I was like,
oh,
Christopher. Yeah, I almost said Christopher Chevy.
Did you catch any of that interview or read anything on the interview that they did?
No, I did not.
Okay, so it was really interesting because, like, I think he verified a couple things that I was kind of thinking about. Like, number one being, like, so he was talking about, like, Jude Law after he signed on to play Jod. Like, I remember I was making the point last week about how Jod never really lies to the kids, like, when you really think back to it. And I guess what was interesting, I found it fascinating anyway, is like the original script actually had Jod lying to the kids, and Jude was the one that said take the lies out, which I thought was cool. And another really fascinating tidbit from that interview was, because we touched on definitely that little speech he gives to Wim, the "no one's coming to save you, boy," and then he goes into his backstory and everything. So they had the backstory like written out, and Jude asked if he can like do a rework of it like in his own way and try it out. And so I guess he like took it home and reworked it and then brought it back the next day and did it his way. So they shot it like two different ways. And if you remember, like, one of the things that Jude said was that he lived in a hole in the ground and when a Jedi had found him, and that was part of the Jude Law rework version, and they actually weren't going to use his version. But then when they were in the editing room and looking at that version of the scene, they realized like that Jude Law had actually added so much with that one line, because Luke Skywalker also, remember, grew up in a hole in the ground in a way. And so they were like, well, he's kind of Luke if Luke didn't, if Luke went down a different path. So what was that sound?
What sound?
There was a sound. Did you not hear that?
I didn't hear no sound.
Okay, I think it was you pulling some shenanigans.
I'm not pulling shenanigans, sitting right here. I'm hearing
Right.
about Jude Law's hole and.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I thought it was just some brilliant stuff that he, like, just with that one little line was like, yeah, he's Luke if Luke went down a different path. Like, you know, in a way, if Luke went down the path of piracy, like if Obi-Wan dies and then Luke becomes a pirate, it's really fascinating. But that's my take on it. So I thought it was all very cool stuff. Anyway, welcome to Starlight Shadows. My name is Dom. That's Josh. We're going to go over our villains today, our favorite villains of Star Wars. And we both made a list of 10. Now, we didn't have to do it in any particular order. I certainly didn't rank them. Maybe Josh, you did. I don't know. But
I didn't. I just wrote names.
Oh, good. Very good. And yeah, I thought it'd be a fun discussion, you know, kind of a slow news week for Star Wars. There's no show going on right now or anything, so I thought it'd be a fun discussion to go over our favorite villains. And also next week, you know, I mean, maybe next week we could do heroes, or at some other show we could do our favorite heroes. But okay, I'm sure people will be curious after we name our favorite villains.
No.
But I thought a really cool way to go about this would be I read one.
All right, we can do heroes.
Okay, sounds good. So I thought maybe I could read one, you could read one, and you know, back and forth, we can maybe do it that way and just name the villain, what we like about him. Maybe we can have a little discussion about each villain that we name. If you run into one that I also have, you know, I'll say, well, I have so-and-so on mine. So, and we just, you know, we won't re-talk about it or talk about it again, I suppose, if we do run into that situation, because we have not shown each other our lists. I wanted to keep this surprising for both of us, and just, I think it'll keep the conversation fun. So, Josh, you want to go first? You want to flip a coin?
No, you can go first.
All right. Okay. So my first one is again, this is recency bias, but I figured we can go down the road a little bit of the more recent ones first that I have. So mine is, my first one I'm going to name is Baylan. Now I know that Baylan is kind of undefined, so to speak, because we don't really know what path he is going to follow. But the reason I listed Baylan as one of my favorites is because A, he's just a great complex character. B, I mean, he was the villain of the Ahsoka series until Thrawn came in, you know, so he acted as that villain role anyway. I mean, just the beginning of Ahsoka alone, you think about like how badass that first scene was with him and Shin together. And then just on top of that, moving forward from there, we ended up, what is so funny? Something's got you cracking up. Is it the fire in the sky in the background?
Because you're talking and then like he just looks so miserable because it just popped up on the screen like he was pleading.
Oh.
like when you go back and watch the footage, like timestamps, it's in this look as you're talking. He just looks like he's sobbing.
I gotcha. So for those of you, for the audio listeners, Josh has fire in the sky in the background, and it keps picking it up, and in the back, it's just really funny.
So they're just phantom heads just popping up from time to time behind me.
Yeah.
In the studio.
Yeah. So, anyway, do you have any thoughts on Baylan, or what do you think of Baylan as a villain? And
well, you know, when he first showed up in the show, I said, "No way, I'm bailing out on him."
Very good.
No, he's very, as you said, undefined. He is not who I thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
Do you remember all the series on him that were coming out?
Yeah.
Like, oh, he's the clone of Vader. Oh, he's this. He's that. He's. Every time any Jedi or Force user shows up, I go, there's C'baoth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but no,
I said C'baoth about Baylan too. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, everyone did, because dear Thrawn, they got to bring C'baoth.
Yeah.
He's an interesting character nonetheless.
Yeah.
You know, just that quote unquote cliffhanger.
Yeah.
It's got my pickle a tickle.
Yeah, no, for sure. That little where we finally see he's going to Mordor. Yeah, that really got me excited too. I say
I don't want his figure. I don't want his figure yet.
You don't?
That's it yet.
So I really enjoyed too about Baylan that, like, I just remember from the trailers how his lightsaber, and I guess Shin's kind of had it too, but how it had that, like, it wasn't exactly red, it had that orangish hue. It's just the coolest thing that they didn't go like full on red with his lightsaber. I always enjoyed that about him too. He's like the one live action character that has that like slightly orangish hue, like the way you would imagine it, and like reading Heir to the Empire, you know, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's so cool. The Ray Stevenson's performance as a character alone is enough for me to just love it, and I'm excited to see what Rory does with it next season. But that was he's got this like certain demeanor that's like you just don't know what he's gonna do next. He's unpredictable.
Like, stoic.
Yeah, stoic.
He's very kind of a knightish approach, really.
Yeah, I like that he doesn't like when Ahsoka greets him for the first battle that they have, or the first duel. Like, I like that he's not exactly like he's upset about having to duel with her, but like he's not at the same time. Like that's what's interesting. He's upset about having to duel with her, but like I think a lot of the dark side characters, and we don't even know if he's technically. I don't think he's Sith, but like
he may be like the first like greater good saying.
Yeah. A lot of characters that lean dark, they tend to like kind of really get excited about the fact that they get to duel a Jedi and they're like ready to defeat. But he doesn't have that attitude. He's kind of like inevitable, you know, that we got to fight, but you know, I don't like it, but we'll do it, you know, kind of thing. And then also like I loved how like he was talking about how if Ahsoka passed, like he's like it'd be a shame because there's so few Jedi left, you know. Like I like that. It's like, where is his head at exactly? We don't know, and I always enjoyed that. And I like that he kind of fixed an issue with Star Wars just from one line in a lot of ways, when he was talking about with Shin, like how history repeats itself, and like each era there's always the same thing happens over and over again. It's like, damn, that one line fixes so much, and if he didn't deliver it the way he did, I don't know if it would have been as effective or had worked. But yeah, I don't know, that's one of my favorites. I want more content with Baylan. So Josh, I'll let you go if you have nothing else on Baylan.
I have nothing else on Baylan, but let me look at my list here. I do have Shin on my list.
You had Shin?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, cool. She didn't quite make my 10, but I was hoping to talk about her.
And I got her action figure, not the Target exclusive, but just a regular one.
Nice.
Shin's great. What's not to love about Shin? You bring her in. One of the first things she does, Dom. You have her stab a fan favorite in the stomach.
Was that
That's
a fan
how you
favorite?
introduce Sabine?
Oh, in that last scene. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the first guy she stabs remember the beginning? But that was Baylan that stabbed him. Never mind.
Yeah, but like her first act in that show was, that's how you establish a bad character.
I agree.
You have to do with that.
I agree.
Like, for instance, with the Walking Dead at the time in the comics, Negan came in and he killed the fan favorite, and then that cemented Negan.
Yes.
And I think that is a cool approach, and I'm happy that she stabbed one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I remember seeing that ending and being like, holy cow. And also, to add on to Shin, another thing that I really enjoy about her is the fact that she a lot like Baylan we have so much more to learn about her. Which I also just like the mystery surrounding her. But the other thing I would say is that's part of the reason she didn't make my personal 10 is because I need more of her. I need to know more about her, but I'm definitely just as excited.
Which is ironic because I have that for Baylan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, well, I don't know much about Baylan, but Shin's dope. But
just for me personally, I'd like to learn more.
We both have the same amount of info, but you know what? I'm going to say it. Hashtag girl boss.
Yeah, 100%.
Girl boss. Hashtag it.
Super cool. I mean, I like that she, at the end of Ahsoka, she's going to like pretty much take over, an entire civilization on that planet that they're on.
To beat up all the crab people?
Yeah, exactly.
A little overkill, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I hope we get more of her next season. I'm very interested. And I think a lot of people are interested in her and Sabine's relationship to see how that develops.
I hope we get more of her next season. Wouldn't it be wild if, like, we didn't? They just don't go back to it.
It'd be an odd choice. That'd be an odd choice on Dave's part.
It'd be an odd choice from a certain point of view.
No, honestly, I was wondering. I remember, like, before the recast of Baylan and all that, I was like wondering, did they kind of like end the show with those characters? Oh, Josh is gone, but hopefully he's
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Turn off the camera.
I gotcha. So hopefully that next season. Or sorry, I was worried they were going to recast. I was like, are they ending those two characters in Ahsoka season 1 the way that they did? Because it's like, well, this is where their journeys end. It'd be really shitty. But even before the recast of Baylan, I was watching the commentaries and Dave had talked about how we're going to see them next season in the finale. So, super excited for more. What else you got on Shin?
Well, that was about it.
Oh, okay.
She's just cool. She's got bangs. Her bangs are cool.
Yeah. No, she cool look.
And she's just an interesting character so far.
I think for Shin and Baylan, cool appearances right off the bat. Like the costume design there, they spared no expense for those characters.
They got like a Dark Souls-esque look to them.
They do. They really do.
Yeah.
Very
like dark metals.
Yeah. We talked about a lot of this character lately, but I'll be pretty brief. I think the audience knows enough at this point about our feelings on this character. Because again, like I said, I wanted to get the recent ones out of the way here to start with for myself. Jod Na Nawood. He acted as the villain in Skeleton Crew, and I think one of the most effective ones that they've had in the Disney era so far. Yeah.
Did you hear that interview where they're talking about how he came up with him being a hole and how he wouldn't lie to children? They just did this interview about it. It's actually funny you mention it.
Yeah, we just talked about at the beginning of the show, but if you want to reiterate it, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, he was in a hole, and there's children in the hole, and the children said, "Are we in a hole?" And he goes, "Yeah," because he never lied to children.
No, you heard a very different interview than I did then. Anyway, so Jod Na Nawood, or even, well, I'll just start there. I like that the guy has another one with mystery. He has different names: Crimson Jack, Captain Silvo. We don't really know what his exact name is. We don't even know if it's Jod Na Nawood at this point, which I'll actually bring up there. That was another thing in that interview, by the way, is that this is actually to one of your points that you brought up, is about how he might pop up in other projects. They asked Christopher Ford, is Jod his real name? And he said he wants to give other creators the freedom to be able to come up with that. So that was an interesting hint, possibly, that he might be showing up.
I think even better if just he didn't have a name.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, and we've talked about him a lot. So again, I thought I liked Jude Law's performance as this character. It's the role I'm gonna remember Jude Law for from now on. And I thought he, again, one of my favorites in the Disney era villains that they've come up with. Definitely Jod Na Nawood, and he might not be a villain next time we see him, but as far as using him as a villain in Skeleton Crew, yeah, he's pretty good. So he makes my 10. So. A lot of layers to that guy. Anything else on Jod there, Josh?
I mean, my issue is I would like to talk more about Jod, but that is a horse that we have beaten.
We have. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I said, like I said, we'll be brief on that. But what's your next one?
My next one, let's see here. I'm gonna let you pick.
Let me pick?
Out of pocket? Yeah, out of pocket or all right.
No, go all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Jabba the Hutt. I love Jabba the Hutt.
All right.
he's iconic. He's got a cool palace. He got a cool toy play set when it came out. He's got Salacious Crumb.
Mm-hmm.
He captures that great, as I always said, it was the old Star Wars, that great toy feeling.
You know? Yeah. Definitely.
Here's this big slug.
I know. I definitely have a lot of history with toys with Jabba. So I'll give you that. Secondly, I was really looking forward to that Guillermo del Toro project that was going to center around Jabba.
We all?
Yeah.
We all?
Now that I would have signed on for easily. That would have been one that would have been cool.
Never say never.
Yeah, no, actually, I'll give you a cool little tidbit on Jabba that hits me personally is the Bloodline book with Leia. I like that she goes to this like other civilization in that book, and they play her the recording. It was like a civilization that Jabba pretty much had by the balls, and they play her this. They actually ended up collecting the recording of Leia choking him with the chain. That sounds dirty, but you know what I mean. And I always like that it's such a cool moment in the book that this one civilization refers to Leia as Hutt Slayer. And like,
that's kind of cool because in Dark Force Rising, the second Thrawn book.
Oh, okay.
There's a planet that reveres her for killing Vader and freeing them.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So
and I forget. No. They revere her for being Vader's daughter because they call her Lady Vader.
Oh, okay.
Because to them, Vader brought them technology and job and foods.
That's fascinating.
That's kind of interesting that multiple planets have Leia's view.
Yeah. I mean, that's fascinating because in the Bloodline novel, like the struggle, and not to make this a Leia thing, but the struggle is like because she's Vader's daughter and a bunch of people find out about it, like that's a struggle for her throughout the Bloodline novel. So that's a fascinating thing. Anyway, Jabba, what more do you got about Jabba? What do you like about Jabba?
Well, in the Clone Wars movie, he was a baby and they called him Stinky. I thought that was funny.
Okay. That's right, he is Stinky.
He's just iconic. Like if you don't know Star Wars, you see Jabba like on the squad from Star Wars.
I mean in Phantom Menace when I was a kid and saw it in the theater and he pops up, I go, hey, like even as a kid, you recognize that.
You do the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
About Jabba?
No, are you ever seen the meme where it's fella in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and he's pointing at the screen?
No, I don't think so.
Were you born under a rock? What, did you live in a hole next
Maybe
to
if I
Jude Law?
saw it, it'd probably
Hold on.
come back to me.
Kids, this is called doing a Google search. Holly. What's that actor's name? Why am I blanking on his name?
Actor?
The guy in What's Fun to Happen in Hollywood.
Brad Pitt?
No, the other one.
Leonardo DiCaprio?
Thank you, Jesus Christ.
Were you born under a rock? Can't remember Leonardo DiCaprio.
How do you not know the meme of Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the TV?
I might see it and go, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. And it's from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, send it, and I might know what you're talking about. But
Let's see here. Entertaining the kids with fun facts about Jabba.
yeah, no, I mean, I'm excited to see his son get played by Jeremy Allen White, one of my favorite.
Yeah, that's a choice.
It's interesting, but I'm interested in it. I'll be honest, like I'm excited to see.
And you know what?
How that
you
goes.
know what? This is kind of related to Jabba, but Pizza the Hut.
Pizza the Hut. We would not have had Pizza the Hut without Jabba the Hutt. It's a good point. I've seen this, but I don't know what it has to do with Jabba is the only thing.
Because you said you're in the theater and he popped up.
Oh! Okay, if I only had a brain. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it was exactly like that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what you... Okay, my bad. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, so Jabba,
So I was like, I was like, oh, they're talking about Jabba. They spent like 45 minutes talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I know. Anyway, this was your villain. What'd you want to say?
Dave Skoll, he's a mob boss.
He's Tony Soprano in Star Wars.
Dave Soprano.
Dave Soprano. That was an inside joke from the other day.
He's like David Bowie in the Labyrinth, and he's down in the underground.
Yeah.
And was he created by Jim Henson? Was he a Jim Henson puppet?
Oh, that's a good question. I hadn't thought of that. He might have been a Henson puppet.
Jabba.
That's a really good question.
Henson puppet.
Only one, yeah, because that was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Members of the Jim Henson group. Let's see. The puppeteers included David Barclay, names, and who were members of the Jim Henson Muppet group.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's also a Muppet.
He's a Muppet.
And who doesn't love Muppets?
You know what? Just because I know that fact, I appreciate the character so much more for knowing that he's a Henson puppet. I never
bet you
put
wish
two
you
and
had
two
a Jabba
together.
figure right now.
I want that toy, the one I told you about that has the slime. You push his tummy and the slime
I know where to get it. Yeah, he froze up the frogs.
Oh yeah, you showed me where to get it, or we found it. So yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get.
Yeah, but
the slime though may be a little crunchy, but
I'm not going to use it. I'll keep it in the box.
I watched a YouTube video where someone actually bought one and recreated the slime, and it worked.
Oh really?
And he put the recipe at the bottom.
I mean, to be honest, the slime never really worked. Like,
well, this one does. Like, it looks like you just vomited frogs.
Like, because I remember it basically ruined your other figures if you tried to
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if you tried to use your
you're not going to keep that toy.
Yeah, exactly.
And fun fact, in my car, I have a little plushie of Jabba that sits on top of the dashboard.
Very cool. Very cool. I don't have
him. He's funny.
It is odd that you've now pointed out I don't have a single Jabba thing. I would own one.
I mean, I used to have the Power of the Force one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what that looks like.
I mean, it was just like your basic. It may not
really?
Be Power of the Force, actually. Let me look.
Yeah, I know, but you think that the packaging would be bigger. I don't know.
I think it came in a set. Power of the Force.
That is odd. I don't have a single Jabba thing.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, there was one. Here, I'll send it to you because you got him and Luke, or him and Han.
Okay. Yeah, but
I bet you as soon as you see this, you're gonna go, oh yeah.
What's interesting is I have the Power of the Force set where it's like Obi-Wan and Vader in the hallway and all that, and I have the one that's like Luke and the snow creature. I can't remember what you call that thing.
Oh God! I actually almost put it on my list. God, why am I blanking on his name?
Now that would have been out of pocket.
can't believe I'm blanking on the name. I literally.
Either way, I'm just surprised I don't have like Leia and Jabba in that set. Like, I'm sure that they've made it. I just don't have it for some reason. And that's something I need to get. You're not wrong. That would be very, very neat.
Why am I can't believe I'm blanking on the name.
It's right there. It's
a goofy name almost.
I know, but it's right there. That's the sad part about it. I can't see it from where I'm at because of the way my lighting is in this room. But I can't see the label. It's gonna kill me. What is the snow creature called, guys? They're calling us idiots because it's snow creature Star Wars.
It's off.
Wampa.
Thank you. I knew it was a goofy name.
Yeah. So I have Luke and the Wampa. You'd think I'd have Jabba and Leia in that set. It's
Jabba and Han. Leia was a separate figure.
They don't have a Jabba and Leia in that set. That's weird. That's weird.
It's a separate figure. I just sent you the set.
Okay. Yeah. I'll take a look at it.
Welcome to Men Talking About Toys.
Yeah, exactly.
Dom, what's your next villain?
That is a cool Power of the Force figure. My next villain is one we've already touched on a little bit, but we don't talk about enough on this actual show. It is Joruus C'baoth. I love C'baoth. I thought, did you also have that one?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you would have.
I have a reason why I didn't put C'baoth on mine.
Yeah, man. I mean, what's not to love? I mean, there's, he's basically manipulated by Thrawn, but also kind of has his own mission at the same time. He is comparable to Baylan in a lot of ways. Like, there's a lot of similarities there. Like, you could almost, I will see, I don't know if Baylan's going to be deliberately based on Joruus, but I do still, I don't know. I kind of feel like if Joruus wasn't around, then Baylan wouldn't be around.
The issue with Joruus C'baoth though is he's insane. He doesn't.
No, true.
Yeah, true. He's just nuts.
Yeah. It's an issue, but it's also one of my favorite things about him. It's that.
No, that's what I'm saying.
He's
that's
unpredictable.
Why I don't see Baylan being that because he's way too reserved. Or C'baoth is like, I can cast lightning out of my fingers.
Yeah, no, true.
He's like there's points where he reads like a Saturday morning villain in the best way possible.
True. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, it's just like when I pictured Joruus, Baylan fits the appearance more so, I guess, than the personality of Baylan. To me anyway. But yeah, I also always I don't even remember if they described this in the Heir of the Empire book. But you could tell me, I swear, I always pictured Joruus with that, orangish hue that Baylan has. I don't know if they described it that way, but it was always in my head. That's how it was.
He has a green, I say.
Is it green?
I think it's a blue one.
Blue?
Or is it red?
It's red, I thought. Because I always pictured it with that orangish hue to it. I swear it was red. Joruus's? I don't know. I always swore it was red. Maybe I read that.
I thought he didn't have one because he's not since he's a clone of a Jedi, he got a Jedi lightsaber.
I'll touch on that at least. I also like the fact that he's a clone. I mean, there's that as well.
But it also leads to his insanity because you clone a Jedi, it loses its mind.
Yeah, well, I'll touch on that too. The fact that he's a clone was always cool to me. We have not seen that yet that I could think of in live action. That a cloned Jedi that I can.
The closest thing we have is
Palpatine's clone. Yeah, but I don't recall an actual clone Jedi. I mean, it kind of had me excited in the Rise of Skywalker trailers when we saw the Dark Rae, because I was hoping they were going to go down a little bit of a cloning route.
Kind of do Luke was 2 years.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping they'd do something like that. But they didn't. And I'd say the other closest thing would be Moff Moff Gideon with his clones, but that's not a Jedi even. It's just, So
yeah, look at the toys. He has a red one. I don't know why.
He does have a red one. Okay, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I could have. That's Gandalf.
Gandalf.
I was like, no. I was like, oh, here's one where he has a blue one. I click it and it's literally Gandalf.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's awesome.
Okay, all right. So I wasn't crazy. I was. Okay.
I haven't read the book in like 3 years.
That's fair. But I always pictured that I don't know. It must have said it in the book, because in my mind he always had an orangish hue to it as well, like just like Baylan did. And so I don't know, something. It was always that's one I'll admittedly say is a little bit more aesthetic for me, a little style over substance. But I do like the way that he's used in the book, and the way that Thrawn intends to use him in the book. And yeah, I think that storyline is very, very cool. Now, granted, I'm one that hasn't actually finished the, admittedly, Heir to the Empire trilogy. I've read Heir to the Empire. I have not finished the trilogy. So it's hard for me to say, where that story goes and everything.
More bombastic as it goes on.
Okay.
Like, and I mean this in the best way possible, there's points where he reads like a cartoon villain.
Yeah. Okay.
Because like he's just getting crazier and crazier as it goes on.
Yeah. No, I always kind of viewed him as cartoony. Like I look at him as a very, I know it's from a novel, but a very comic book villain. Like he's very comic book, and there's not a lot of. I mean, I guess what I really like about him is that he was like, because a lot of Star Wars villains are very comic booky just by their nature. So I think what I like is that even though the novel Heir to the Empire is a little bit more as a story, if you compare that to what all we had at the time when those were written was the original trilogy, and then you compare that to the Heir of the Empire is a way to give us a new trilogy, but also being very, very layered with like a lot of in-depth story. But I like how much you're reading Joruus, and he feels like he was picked right out of one of the movies at the same time. You know what I mean? Like you're not. He feels like a movie villain, I guess, in a lot of ways. Something that you would have seen in one of the movies and felt just like a natural fit for the Star Wars universe, I guess, is my point. So even though it was from a novel. Anything else on Joruus?
Not really.
Okay, what's your next one?
Trying to think what's a good comparison to Joruus here to bounce off on.
Yeah.
Do I go EU or do I go?
Yeah, we could stay with EU. Keep it in the EU for a minute.
Plagueis.
I do not have Plagueis. So reason why I don't have Plagueis is I still have not finished the novel. What I've read, I'm enjoying. So I'll let you go off on Plagueis.
What's there to say about Plagueis? Huh? That has already been said.
Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
No, Plagueis is one of those characters that you try to think the best way to word it.
Well, you fantasize about him from episode 3.
When you read, so Plagueis feels like a legend, like how they talk about him, like the original book cover where Plagueis is this giant head in front of Sidious. And it's like, man, what is this thing? And then you read the book, and they humanize him in the way that I root for him while reading. Even though I know he's a horrible creature and horrible monster, and like he literally just slaughters people at points in that book. There's a point where he's got to sneak out of the planet he's on.
Yeah.
After he kills his master in the mines. And there's like this village of people, and he kills them without even a care in the world. But they humanize him in the way, and you get into his mindset enough that's like in Breaking Bad when you root for Walter White. Like, yeah, this guy's doing bad stuff. Like, I want to see him. Like, I'm annoyed. What I was reading is like, man, he's gonna die. That's gonna suck, and I don't want this guy to kill him. Yeah, and in a weird way, and definitely not in a sexual way by any means, but how you see him manipulate and groom Palpatine, and seeing like, okay, this is what he wants, this is what he's going for, like, so he just perfectly like Palpatine is like a rebellious kid when he meets them, like rebels out of cause, no pun intended, rebels, and he has a fast car, and he gets on, and he's just like, oh. This nice car you have. And he was like, too fast for you, old man. He goes, I was going to see if you wanted to race it. Like, while being this, like, old, like, banker type guy. And like that completely changes how he views him. Yeah. And the book's a great read. Right. I will say The only problem is, and when people are like, but that's the point, is when you get into his politicking, it slows down a bit. I like more of the manipulation.
I gotcha.
But when you get into like him like doing trades and all, like it's good writing. It's just it slows the pacing a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, even for me who hasn't finished the book yet, I mean, Plagueis is still like an iconic character from Revenge of the. I mean, obviously because of Revenge of the Sith and everybody theorizing that he was going to be Snoke and tons of things, just there's still.
It's crazy he's never been in any canon stuff yet.
Well, now.
No, he's never in anything canon.
Okay, and so so. And I always enjoyed his appearance. I mean, I the fact that he's immune and we don't see a lot of those was always, it made it more mysterious, the fact that he was immune. Like that, there was always something so alien about that to me. Like the fact that,
even in the book, when people know about them, they're like, what, your kind doesn't come around here.
Yeah.
Like they're revered in such a weird way. It's very interesting.
But I mean, I would compare it to at least like, as far as you saying that they humanize them, it's really, that's pretty neat to hear, just because it is, like you were saying, kind of a hard sell, because the guy just does despicable things and
literally the worst.
Yeah. And it's I guess similar, but not so much, because we don't see it as explicitly in like the movies, but it's similar to like how they do humanize Palpatine in a lot of ways in the prequels, because you know, especially watching him, as you called it, politicking, throughout, and trying to manipulate his way through the system, which I know the Plagueis novel deals a lot, and how Plagueis did that as well, and how Palpatine kind of learned to do that from Plagueis seemingly, and so yeah. Anyway, but Palpatine also did despicable things, so it's like it's that same sort of thing, I guess, with Plagueis, where, because since Palpatine learned from Plagueis, so it's interesting to me to have this character that, like, it seems like even some of the more general casual Star Wars fans know about. As you said, unfortunately we've just never seen him in anything. So but yeah. But yeah, no, it is fascinating. Like it was all because of how good the legend of Plagueis was in Revenge
how
of the
much
Sith.
they built so much mystique around him.
And so little time. It's one scene in Revenge of the Sith, and
have you ever heard the tragedy?
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that credit goes to Ian McDiarmid. I mean, his line delivery for sure.
The way he did,
but outside of that, like it's. We've been begging for it as fans. Fortunately, one day they'll put them in something. But anything else on Plagueis before? Because you've read the book, I haven't. So
not really. I think there's other cool stuff. Like I just don't remember it.
I gotcha.
One for one. So, but I mean, he's just a character worth checking out if you don't know much about him. Yeah, and definitely read the book.
This lines up very well though, because my next one was Sheev Palpatine. So lined up actually pretty well. It was literally my next one on the list, so I'm just going in order of how I wrote them out. But yeah, Sheev Palpatine, as we already said, a lot of it is due, I would say, like, yes, it's the part of the original trilogy where you finally dive into a little bit of a horror element for sure, because Palpatine's creepy, in that original movie. And Ian McDiarmid's performance is...
the original design was like the weird bug eyes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Bro, am I having a Mandela effect? I'm going to say something, and you're like, yeah, that's right. Or you're just like, what are you talking about? So please bear with me.
Yeah.
Was there a monkey screech at one point when he showed up on screen?
I don't think so.
Like a weird monkey zoo noise. I swear to God, I remember that.
I mean, Obi Wan makes a monkey noise when he scares off the Jawas.
No, like he pops up on screen and like you can clearly tell like they mix in like a monkey noise. Like, let me Google. I
don't think so,
sure.
But maybe. No, but it's an interesting.
I'm telling you, I remember that. I have the original cuts.
It's an interesting history with old Sheev, from him being a praying mantis in Empire Strikes Back, at least the original version.
Or just a really bad eye infection.
Yeah, and he goes from.
Have you ever heard the tragedy of my eye drops?
He goes from like this grasshopper praying mantis looking thing to like the actual full on Ian McDiarmid performance in Return of the Jedi, which is, you know, like I said, the first like real horror element that you get in Star Wars. Like it's like, oh, this is the dark side. Like it's the dark side is scary. That's the realization you have when you get to the end of Return of the Jedi. Is like, this is a scary element that, you know, it's crazy we're diving into it, but even going into how much the prequels had developed the character, that like humanize him, even though the character is so like mystical and mythical. Or what'd you find on this that you're laughing?
Okay, so his eyes were superimposed from footage of monkeys.
That doesn't surprise me. That does not surprise me.
So I'm not too far off base, and I heard a monkey screech at some point in that movie.
You might be right. I'll have to go back and check it out. I've seen Empire so many times I don't recall a noise, but it's weird that you made that connection.
Or maybe my brain just saw the monkey eyes
Right.
and scream.
Yeah, maybe. It's something George would do, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad they went to prosthetics on Return of the Jedi.
I don't know, dude. Bring back the monkey eyes.
And anyway, Ian McDiarmid's performance throughout all the films as
The monkey did
Palpatine.
it better.
Yeah, even Rise of Skywalker, when it's ridiculous that Palpatine is back in the first place, it's
Somehow.
the ridiculous explanation. The performance is still very good from Ian, I think.
And don't forget his super cool message in Fortnite.
Yeah, that was so cool. That was so cool. So cool.
Bro,
to
so
cut that from the movie. So cool of them to cut that from the movie. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I don't know, man. I love how Palpatine manipulated his way through the political system, getting to where he was. I think it's one of the best. It's some of the best storytelling in Star Wars that we have is the Palpatine
really cool.
stuff. It's the prequels don't work without him, like at all.
Yeah, come on.
They
The
don't.
iconic voice. The iconic voice. We got to get into the iconic voice.
Do it.
Everyone knows how to do it. Like it's like a voice that like if you like
Yeah.
you go to like Jabba, you go to a non-Star Wars fan and you go,
Yeah.
please bring me my order of 66.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh yeah, it's the Star Man.
Yeah. No, it's true.
He's iconic. I keep saying the term iconic, but you know what? He's iconic.
He is iconic. I mean, that is part of Ian McDiarmid's performance, like that voice and everything he brought to it. Like, there's things that you like. They say like certain actors. There's things in acting. There's certain actors that have a thing that you can't train it, and it just feels like Ian. That's part of Ian's. That's what Ian brings to it. You know, he brings that to the table.
And another thing on his lightsaber, that is very fancy and has gold and jewels and all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why he has that?
No.
So it is actually his version of an FU to the Jedi, because the
really?
Jedi are very much against, material sayings and wealth. So he made their weapon his own version worth so much money that it's almost useless.
Yeah.
Like it's the functionality is garbage, but it's just an FU to the Jedi. Like, oh yeah, this is your idea, and I pimped it up, man. I tripped it up.
I am so glad you brought the lightsaber up. That's awesome. Is that from the Plagueis novel?
No, that's just when I got really into collecting lightsabers, I was going through like history of characters' lightsabers.
Oh yeah.
And Palpatine's I watched a video on like the history of it.
Interesting. But I'm glad you brought the lightsaber up, because I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the scene where Mace Windu goes to confront him, and then he pulls out the lightsaber for the first time. We see Palpatine with the lightsaber, and he does that like spiral move with that shriek behind it, and oh my gosh! But the fact that go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Another not the interesting tidbit is, so when I believe this is in the comics, after episode 3, Vader does have a lightsaber, so he gives Palpatine gives Vader his, and Vader uses it and absolutely hates it. He's like, this thing is garbage.
Yeah,
it's not meant to fight. It's more of an ornament.
Yeah.
And then Vader rebuilds his.
Well, he goes and makes a crystal bleed, is what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets one from a Jedi.
Well, I mean, like his hilt is his.
Oh,
like,
the hilt, right? Yeah.
He built to make his.
Yeah, right. No, that stuff is dope. But also just the fact that like it's the reason he's one of the most important. He's responsible for arguably, just depending on who you are, the best villain in Star Wars, Darth Vader. I mean, the most iconic anyway. And then without Palpatine, manipulating Anakin Skywalker. I mean that's a villain, man, when like he can make everything go to shit. Like, and that's what works about him is like the Jedi had this plan, it was going smoothly, and then Palpatine made everything go to shit. And that was like, and he's again, my favorite villains are the ones that are 5 steps ahead of their enemies, like they're thinking ahead, and Palpatine always was. He when Padme was like gonna go back to Naboo and he didn't want her to, like that, but he had to like really quickly think on his feet to come up with another plan to pivot like that, and he did. Like, that stuff it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Just some of the best writing George Lucas ever did was for that character. Like, for being honest, like the way that he fleshed out Palpatine is amazing and very relevant. That's all I'll say. Anyway, anything else on Palpatine, or you want to go with your next one?
I am good on the Palpatine.
Go ahead. What do you got?
All right. I'll take your Palpatine and raise you Tarkin.
Okay, this is the first time we crossed over. I also had Tarkin.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, go ahead.
I mean, all right. So Tarkin. Now I'm not counting the cartoons. I'm not counting the Rogue One when I say this. So let's pretend.
Sure.
For a minute.
Sure.
He's that villain that's only in the first movie, but it feels like he's in it throughout.
Yeah,
like, because his short time is so strong and cool that you're like, oh, that's like one of the top Star Wars villains. He got blown up in the Death Star. Like,
yeah,
that's it. His story is told, but there's just so much. Like, the Moffs have this saying that I dubbed the term was Krennic, actually. And Thrawn has it, and he has it. I call it space douche.
Yeah, they do have
like
space
this
douche.
Douchey upper arrogance to them.
Yeah.
Like this class and this stoicness.
Yeah.
And I mean, Tarkin was the mold for all of that. And that's
it's true. It's true. Like the British gentleman, but who's a villain at the same time. Like you're right. Like that is the blueprint for that in Star Wars. Like we didn't have it before Tarkin, and I gotta say, like another one of those things where it's like it's in the performance. There's some things you can't train, and then that's all Peter Cushing. Like that performance is iconic. And I know you said you weren't counting anything else, but for myself,
just for that statement,
right? No, I know what you're saying, but yeah, like for me, like one of the things that like yeah, I mean, I love like when you follow his trajectory through Clone Wars and so on and so forth. Like, I think it's a really good like arc. And
also,
his ego is what ultimately made him demise. Which I thought was cool.
Also, another thing too. Like, so all right, realistically, what is he?
Human.
He's just an old human man that's in a military outfit, right?
Yeah.
Dude, they got kids buying toys of him back in the day.
That's true. That's a good point.
Kids are like, I want a Tarkin toy.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Translation is, I want a toy of this old man.
Yeah.
Like, that's how good of a villain he is.
No, it's true. Like, he's so menacing in that first movie. And you're right. Like, going back on the basis of we only had that first movie with him and that 5 minutes of screen time total, probably, if you added it up.
Yeah, if even.
Because Vader has 8, and he's not in every scene with Vader. So, so, I mean, you're right. You're talking 5 minutes of screen time. So menacing. And also, like, I'm sure, like, if we lived in 1977 and saw the movie then, I'm sure, like, as adults, we still would have been like, I'm not sure this guy's actually going to get defeated or go away. And then leading to the moment when Luke blows him up on his own, well, at the time was his own creation. We found out it was really Krennic and, all that, but who kind of orchestrated the Death Star, but Tarkin took the credit for it. And so really he was his ego was ultimately what led to his demise, and I always enjoyed that about the character. I think it's a really interesting thing to study of like how ego gets in the way of somebody who's again extremely intelligent, managed to go through the Clone Wars with his own ideology but stay on the side of the Republic at the same time, and then maneuvered his way over to the Empire once the Empire was formed. I think that's something interesting to think about and look at, and I think it is looked at quite a bit in the Tarkin book by James Luceno. And
I still want to read that.
Me too. I haven't read it, but I think that's kind of what it is him maneuvering his way from I do know one thing about that Tarkin book is it's one of our few canon reference points for the Old Republic. I know there's a lot of like Old Republic stuff in that Tarkin book, which is really fascinating to think about. So it's one of our few canon reference points for Old Republic. I'm not sure why, because I haven't read the book. It's on my shelf, getting ready to. It needs to be read. I've been thinking about it more and more lately to read that one. One of the coolest characters, and obviously the first one that you and I crossed over on our list. So
I'm actually shocked you had him.
Yeah, no, it's one of the first ones you and I crossed over on the list. One of the ones I also have a figure of, and yeah, should probably have more of them. But
I got the. Oh god, what is that line? It's the Black Series, but they're in like the archive collection. That's what it's called. I have that one. It's a torture droid.
One thing that's really cool, I mean, to think about too, really quick, is like you think about it, his appearance in Rogue One was almost more exciting than Vader's when you saw the movie, because you knew Vader was going to be in it from the trailers. You didn't know about Tarkin. Like you could.
I just did
critique the visuals of it.
Google. And they, according to this, Tarkin literally only has a couple of minutes of screen time.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's what I'm reading on here. So
that's an actor.
That's exactly. I mean, this little side story a little bit ago, of last year, it fell through, but I had a friend selling off the Star Wars collection. He sent me all this stuff, and I'm like, I just want that Tarkin statue. Just give me that statue of Tarkin, and we're good.
Yeah.
It was him sitting in the chair. I wanted it so bad.
Yeah. I don't think again, like I said, it's a testament we both had him on our list. Nobody can leave him off the list of greatest villains in Star Wars.
He's actually the first name I wrote down too.
Yeah, it wasn't my first one, but I want to see, was that actually next for me? That's interesting. It was not next. It was close to next. This is the one I had after the next one, but yeah, what a great character. You're right. And also coining the term that we now know as Grand Moff, right? That's really cool. Is really quick too with Tarkin. His first scene with Leia is fantastic. And one of the reasons I love it so much is because it's the scene where Carrie Fisher has a British accent. And the reason that is because they thought Leia was going to have a British accent when they were first shooting the movie, and then they just said, let's drop it. But for some reason, when she's acting alongside him with the accent, it actually kind of works. Like it's almost like I think it's a lot of it is part. I'm going to praise Peter Cushing again. It's a lot of how he plays into that, and it really feels like. When you look at it now in retrospect, it worked out because it kind of just feels like she's mocking him a little bit in her tone.
Yeah, that's how I always read it.
Yeah, and really it's a behind the scenes goof, but because Peter Cushing just keeps it straight and he does that charming but the last, like it's so good. And it just plays so much more into it again. It goes back and there's just certain things you can't train an actor to do, and he's got
there's a multiverse timeline.
Yeah.
Where he played the perfect Alfred.
Yeah. That's, for sure. You're not wrong. Yeah, thinking about it now, it's like, damn it. It's interesting because I just bought a Batman graphic novel today.
Which one?
Year One. Yeah. But
nice. Good read.
Yeah.
Check out the animated movie too.
Yeah, I've seen the movie. I haven't read the thing. Okay. Yeah, I've seen the movie. I haven't read it yet. Well, no, that's not true. I've read issues of it, but it sold me enough to like get the whole thing. Like, I've read parts of it. I mean, like excerpts. But I haven't read it from beginning to end.
I found a time capsule real quick.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of going through Tarkin stuff.
Yeah, good idea.
We're talking here, and no, I found an old fan theory that it's a photo of the CG version of him,
mm-hmm.
and it was cited as Snoke, and people are like, could it be?
Oh my god.
God, I do. Oh my god, this is beautiful. I do miss the olden days of every character.
I know, I do too. We were all so happy. No, yeah. Anyway, talking about this now, like we didn't rank these, but I think just talking about it now lit up. I got just wanting to talk about Tarkin. It just made me realize if I were to rank these, he would have probably hit top 5 for me, like easily. Yeah. So he's definitely one of the best. So
little screen time, but such a strong presence.
It's crazy when you put that into perspective. It's like 2 minutes.
and he's the mold. Like
I know. Oh my gosh. Oh, by the way, well, before we move on, we got to mention the fact that he's one of the few guys that told off Vader, which is balls.
Yeah, and survived.
It survived. Like Vader listened to him. That's boss. I mean, that's super boss. There's something about that I always remember and always like in that scene, I'm always like, damn it, Tarkin's so good. Like, oh my gosh, like the way he calls the Force your ancient religion and oh my god, it's so good. That's a character. Anyway, anything more on Tarkin?
I am all tarked out.
All right. So I almost wonder if we're gonna cross over on this, but maybe not. My next one was Pellaeon.
What now?
Gilad Pellaeon.
What now?
Pellaeon, he's Thrawn's number 2 guy. Heir of the Empire.
Why am I blanking on that?
Pellaeon. Maybe Captain Pellaeon.
Oh, okay, yep, never mind.
Yeah. So I was just like Pellaeon. This is another one of those where I'll fully admit it's a little more style over substance, but I do like the character and the way he's used. I like that he's kind of Thrawn's number 2 guy. Follows the orders, and just what I really enjoyed though, actually, as much as I didn't like the season, one of the things that made Pellaeon so you move up in my world was the fact that he's kind of the one that was like part of the cover up of Thrawn's return in Mandalorian season 3.
Somehow Thrawn's returned.
Yeah, but he was part of that cover up a lot. And that's one of the things I really enjoy is that he's, I like how he's being used, especially in the canon stuff now, where he's going to cover up Thrawn's return, that he's still kind of Thrawn's right-hand man. I really enjoy that. Even from, the Legends, a lot of he's really at the crux of a lot of Thrawn conducting space battles and things, which I also always enjoyed. And he's really he's the first one I think that we get to like follow in Heir of the Empire, really, like before Thrawn. Yeah, before Thrawn's introduced. And I just think I think I like about the character so much too is just the way that he's written. He's also kind of got that Tarkin style dialogue a lot of ways, even though he's not as smart as Tarkin, but the writing is just as good. The intelligence might not be there, but the writing is very, very good. And he's just one of these like British guys that you just think about and it's like, what's going on now?
Looking at Tarkin figures, and I forgot this toy line. Do you remember the Action Tex toys?
Yeah.
It's just one where Tarkin has a bazooka. It's just making me laugh. Like he legit just has a giant missile launcher.
You know what Adorables are?
Yeah.
Do you know they have a Phantom Menace one?
Yes, the Funko Adorbs.
Yeah.
Right, they're like round heads and square bodies.
Yeah.
There's the Phantom Menace one?
Yeah, I saw it at Walmart today.
I didn't know they still made them.
Yeah. Yep. Adorables. Yep. They're at Walmart. I was thinking about it. They're pretty cool. If I was a Funko guy, I'd be all over it. It's pretty cool though. Any collector would want to have that. But anyway, off topic a little bit. Pellaeon. Yeah, I like that he's a consistent part of Thrawn's story. Like you almost can't have Thrawn without Pellaeon as well. Like those two like almost go hand in hand. Which again is why I like that they moved him, however big or small, they moved him forward in the new canon. Yeah, so
Bring
he's
me
just
Eli.
What's that?
Give me Eli.
Oh my gosh, heroes. I consider him a hero, but we'll get into
Really?
that. I do.
All right.
But we'll get into that. Maybe in heroes, because he'll probably make my list. He'll make one of our lists in that. Unless you have that on yours today. But,
No, I do not.
Yeah, because I love Eli Vanto. Yeah.
I have one obvious, and the rest are out of pocket.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to fight for some of them.
Okay. But he is Eli Vanto would also be on my hero. He'd be on the heroes, but I'll go into why when we get there. But anyway, point being is that those two go hand in hand, I guess, is kind of where I'm at. You can't have one without the other. Anyway, Josh, anything on Pellaeon? Your impressions?
No, not really. I don't very much thoughts on him, honestly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I want to know.
I legit forgot he was a character.
What's that?
I legit forgot who he was. But you're like,
oh, that's true. Like you forgot who he was.
Who in the hell is Vader?
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know, something about him, man. I like that like, especially the way they this showed him in canon or depicted him in the Mandalorian season 3 with the mustache, and just, I don't know, he's kind of goofy in a way too. Like, he kind of cracks me up in that way. He's got like a goofiness to him as well. But like, he's kind of like Thrawn's little rag doll in a way, you know. But also very instrumental into Thrawn's plans as well.
Thrawn's ragtime gal.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, what do you got next?
EU or mainline?
Mine was semi-EU, so let's stick EU, I guess, if you got it.
All right. The Blackwing virus.
Blackwing virus. That's a villain?
So have you read Death Troopers?
No, not yet, but educate me.
Okay. So basically, correct. I mean, this one wants to have read it, but essentially, it was used with the Force, or it was created using the Force.
Okay.
So it has its own presence and its own essence. So when it does infect people, it has a hive mind, and that hive mind has a goal. To the point where, like, when it bites someone, it almost gave me vibes. I mean, it was before Dead Space, but Dead Space vibes.
Yeah.
That it bites you, and it being a sinking virus wants to spread and to expand. It's like, I've ever read things like reproduce, bite.
Yeah.
And it's such this. I love when the EU got into like the more scary things.
Yeah.
And that virus, like when you read about it, it's Evil Dead and Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it almost feels, because it's made with the dark side of the Force, so it's even kind of demonic. The Death Troopers, you know, they're sinking, they're talking, and it's all this hive mind, concentrated presence.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the coolest, because it is. I mean, it's not, you know, walking around with a lightsaber, and it's not a person per se, but it is a living creature.
No, for sure. Yeah. That's interesting. I haven't thought of that. If anything, you're just making me regret not putting in that virus from Clone Wars Season 2 on my list now, because that's a cool episode. Also has a lot of horror vibes in that. But anyway.
Yeah. I haven't read the prequel book about the guy, about the Sith Lord that made it. So I may even add more to it, but like in that, like, it's just...
There's a prequel book about it?
Yeah, it's called Red Harvest.
Oh, right. I know about Red Harvest. Yeah. Duh. Yeah, I knew about Red Harvest.
If I remember, I think the virus's like mindset and hive mind may come from him imprinting himself. So it might even just be him.
Yeah.
I don't remember 100%, but I do remember the virus being like...
That's fascinating.
God, why am I blanking on the name? The artifact in Dead Space.
Yeah.
But it is this like layer above us type thing.
Gotcha. All right, fascinating.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's on my shelf. So I'll get to it next time I go to Taco Bell and sit on the crapper. I'll crack her open. You know.
But I said that's kind of cool because at one point, perfectly, the gray alien from Fire in the Sky went over the gray alien here. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. All right, man. Anything else on that, or do we want to move on?
Not really. I mean, it's just one I want to add because I think it's a cool.
All right. Well, since you hit one that I didn't know, I'm gonna go with one that you may not know, but you might. We'll see. But this is definitely one that not a lot of people would bring up. But I'm gonna bring up Rae Sloane. Any idea on this one?
No way.
You know Rae Sloane?
Rae.
No, not that Rae. It's a different Rae. Yeah.
No, he is not ringing a bell.
It's she. So she is in the Empire. It's okay. She is. Mistakes were made. This one's Rae Sloane, and she is in the Empire. What I like about this character is so to reference, she's from the Aftermath trilogy. What I like about this character personally is that she is, one, very well written, but two, very conflicted about her positioning in the Empire, and I enjoy the way that she kind of continues to, let's say, get played in the Empire, but also remains naive to the ongoings of the Empire at the same time. But also has this wonderful arc to where she starts out very naive to the Empire's doings and then starts to really catch on to everything that they're doing. And I like how she kind of ends up having an arc to that incorporates her, let's just say, on the other side, so to speak. But throughout her entire arc, she's always just conflicted. Like, there's no point in Rae Sloane's arc that I could recall where I truly felt she had chosen a side. And I really enjoy a conflicted character such as that. Another point, actually something, if you played the campaign on this, Josh, I'm not sure, maybe you just did the online, Rae Sloane is also in the Squadrons game, so they included her there. She's kind of your main Imperial commander in Squadrons. So.
That's right now. Okay, because I looked her up, I'm like, she looks familiar.
Yeah, so she's actually in Squadrons in the campaign. So that was one thing I remember firing up Squadrons, having no idea they'd put something like Rae Sloane in there. The Squadrons had some of the coolest cameos. I mean, they had like Rae Sloane and Hera and, like things, people you wouldn't have expected just pop up, but it paid attention to a lot of different things. Anyway, Rae Sloane, really awesome Imperial story about an Imperial in Aftermath that they give there, and just a really cool arc throughout all three books that they give her, and something I'd recommend people read. At one point, the Aftermath trilogy turns 10 years old this year, by the way, or the first book came out 10 years ago. This year, anyway. Yeah, it's really crazy to think about. So we might have to cover it, Josh, for its 10th year anniversary, at least the first book. You should think about diving into it. It's great. I highly recommend it. But anyway, so yeah, one of my favorite trilogies in Star Wars, without her presence as like pretty much the main villain, especially in the first book. I don't know if the trilogy works as well. So I just wanted to shout out Rae Sloane for that reason. So yeah, there's one that you might not have known as well either. So there you go. Anyway, one of the more obscure ones for sure. Josh, I'll go ahead and let you continue. Unless you had a diatribe about Rae Sloane. A character which you did not know. Anyway, go ahead.
Watto.
Watto's a villain. I'd like to hear your argument.
He's a slave trader.
But villain?
That's a villain, dude.
Yeah.
That's a crime. That's a felony, man.
I'll say this. He leans more villain than hero. I'll give you that.
I mean, that's what we liked about Skeleton Crew is like the gritty real life crime,
Okay.
And you got this shady man flying around, and he's like,
hey, I'm not here to argue the interpretations of how we see the characters. If you see him as the villain, then let's talk about him as a villain.
I'm baffled.
What?
You don't view him as a villain?
I view him in the middle. Personally.
What do you mean in the middle?
He's kind of like, well, I don't know. He's just trying to make his way. Not like Boba Fett, though, but like just trying to make his way. Like maybe more how Boba Fett was in the Book of Boba Fett. Like just making his way. But in the middle. I look at him in the middle. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
No, I actually, you could make an argument for Phantom Menace though, more so because he does try to actually stop our heroes from getting their way. So I just think I was thinking more Attack of the Clones Watto in my head was probably why, rather than Phantom Menace. But you're not wrong, because in Phantom Menace, like, he does try to stop Qui-Gon essentially from, you know, freeing Anakin and getting the parts on the ship. So he's kind of, in that way he is a villain. I guess I just never thought of it that deeply.
Yeah.
I
bet that because he's that real world crime. Like,
yeah, you're right.
He's at this grand scale, but he's still like.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I guess he is as much of a villain as Jabba. I just never thought of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just really small scale, but.
Yeah, no, I just never thought of it.
He's a street villain.
That's interesting. Okay. Maybe it's because as a kid I liked him. I don't know.
Oh yeah, he's a cool character. He's fun.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's a stupid fly man.
Yeah. What's he wearing on his head in Attack of the Clones? Can we clear this up?
Isn't it like a sky cap, like what pilots wear?
Looks like a flying saucer.
Is it?
That's what it looks like to me, but I don't know.
Maybe I was thinking of Watto hat.
But maybe it is what the pilots wear. You might be right.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about now. Never mind. I was thinking something else.
Yeah.
I forgot they made a Beanie Baby of him.
That's pretty neat.
Maybe he's not. I take it back. He's not a villain. He's got a Beanie Baby and it's cute.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It's like when I think of Watto, I think of a Beanie Baby here or something like it's in that same category. But you're not wrong though, because he does try to stop our heroes. It's an interesting point you bring up. Like I'm saying you're actually kind of effing right, because like I hadn't thought of it in that context. But when you look at Phantom Menace, if Watto gets his way, our heroes don't win.
Now I'm gonna let me go back to the topic. There's a lot of memes on this hat. I was gonna say it's a sun hat, but the brim is way too small to even cover his eyes.
It looks more like a flying saucer to me.
It does, but here's the crazy part.
Yeah,
I could see him to wear it so the top of his head doesn't get sunburned.
Sure. But I also think, like, it makes sense in universe, because, like, really, he probably got it off, like, a Jawa or something on Tatooine. It's probably just, like, a piece of scrap that he got.
That's what, like a hubcap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's
wait, oh my God. Kids, we have breaking news.
What?
He has a neck beard.
I never noticed that.
And he has a hat on top of his head. Is that a fedora? Is he gonna tip his hat at you?
Eventually, Josh will explain to the audio, for your audio listeners. Eventually, he'll explain why he likes the character.
I am. It's got a fedora and a neck beard. No, he's just cool. He's a cool little like if you think about like the Pirate Bay in the Skeleton Crew. There's all those little. I like the small scale stuff. Like
I do too.
You got the sleazies, the scumbag. He's like, oh, you want the boy, you get the boy. He built droid really good. What did? It just sucks.
Yeah, no, I get you. He kind of falls in the same category as Urkel in Skeleton Crew a little bit. He's just like if that character gets his way, the heroes don't succeed. Like I get what you mean. Like
didn't he? And he also cheated in the race.
He cheat? He did cheat. You're not wrong. Yeah, he did. Yeah, good point.
He's gonna sabotage him.
Yeah. No,
and he didn't care. He didn't care that would kill little Annie or not.
It's true. He
just wanted the money.
He does suck in that way because, like, and then he gets back in Attack on the Clones. It's Annie. You know what I mean? It's like,
dude, he's Rat. Is his name Ratner from Uncut Gems?
Is it really?
Is it Ratner?
Is that who it is though? Is that who plays Watto?
No. But like in Uncut Gems.
Oh, you're making a parallel.
Character?
You're making a parallel.
He's that type of guy.
Yeah.
Like
no, for sure. Yeah. No, for sure. I see exactly what you mean now. I've just never thought of it in that context of like villain. And then now you've made a good point.
And even then, like, because like, how many scumbag people do you know that are like, when they see like, oh, hey man, like, how you doing? Mm-hmm. And you're like, didn't you like steal $2,000 from your grandma last week?
He is so that guy. Yeah, you're not wrong. Like it is interesting when you start to like peel back the layers of Watto, because there are so many things. Like, he is somebody that like he is that scumbag. You're not wrong. And I guess because I was just thinking of the full arc of it and how happy he is to see Anakin, it's like, well, wait a minute. You when you back up a bit, you make a valid point about thinking of him in the context of a villain. I just haven't thought of it that way that you did. So that's really interesting.
So it's funny is, it's funny that Watto actually threw you off, because I figured that's one you would have found obvious, because mutual people in our lives, when I told them I was working on the list, they asked where was Watto.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
maybe I'm just different. Just never thought of it that way, because it's thinking of the full trajectory, the full arc of Watto, where he's happy to see Annie in episode 2. And instead of what he actually did prior to that, and how much episode 2, not in a storytelling continuity way, but like the character contradicting himself, like 2 contradicts his actions in 1. I hadn't actually thought of that.
I just see it as like kind of just sleazy, just
very now that you say it, like more so than I guess I ever realized. It makes me want to put it back on Phantom Menace, because I want to like peel back the layers of Watto. Man, you're giving me shit to geek out about. I love it. Like it's sick. It's sick.
Where's the Watto book?
I know. I think he's in that Living Force thing that they put out, that book.
No. Like I want like a.
I know.
Like how Lord of the Rings is a Silmarillion.
Yeah. Oh, you want that in depth on Watto?
I want a 1,000-page book from larvae to.
What do you think George has been doing all this time? Only for friends and family, though. You'll never see it.
That's so weird. Like, I want to know.
Yeah. No, for sure. No, that's an interesting point you bring up. I never thought of Watto in that context. All right. Anything else on Watto?
Nah, I think we've exhausted that.
All right. My next 3 are extremely obvious. So Darth Maul. We've covered Darth Maul together, but it's obvious. And Darth Maul, the way that Freddie Prinze Jr. said it, what makes this character awesome. He's Sisyphus. He keeps rolling the boulder up the hill, not realizing that the boulder's just going to keep coming back down on him. And it's fantastic when you think about it. It's an interesting, again, another one of those interesting character studies. First of all, we've covered it before, but together on our Phantom Menace review, but thinking about the fact that it's very similar to Tarkin, very little screen time, major impact.
1 line, 2 lines of dialogue.
Yeah, maybe a little more than Tarkin had, but like still very little, and 2 lines of dialogue.
Way more toys.
He had less dialogue than Tarkin, though. You can argue that he had less dialogue than Tarkin in a small amount of screen time, and still such an impact. One of those characters that before you even saw the film, you knew he was one of your favorite characters, and it worked out.
And they knew he was one of our favorites.
Exactly, they did, because they put out the toys that we went and bought.
What's your favorite era of
Maul?
Yeah,
Rebels.
Okay.
Yeah. Rebels is he's kind of fully coming to his own with his robot legs, and I always just found that aesthetically dope. But also, if you want to talk about like the arc of Maul, it's the moment he realizes I lost, there at the end when Obi Wan defeats him, he finally realizes that he's lost.
My favorite arc, and it mainly stems from childhood, of being like, wow, is when you find out he survives off his own hatred and his brother goes to find him.
It's dope.
And he's a spider monster underground eating people.
Yeah. It's a really fascinating question about what's my favorite era, because Clone Wars also has like some of the most impactful stuff. I mean, when you're talking about the Satine arc, like the way he kills off Satine, and it's like, whoa.
Or, I mean, my God, the Rebels, I see him, I hear, Kenobi.
Yeah, I mean, come on, that's the iconic Maul to me. I like how he tried to take on Ezra as his apprentice, and I just thought it was the best small stuff we'd had in Rebels.
He's just let's act like a feeble old man, and
I like that actually now having, in retrospect, that a Clone Wars season 7 now. Like when Ahsoka sees Maul again, it's so much more impactful now when you watch it in Rebels than it was the first time, because now that they've added Clone Wars season 7, which by the way is another great outing for Maul, like his Clone Wars season 7, that Ahsoka Maul fight, where they actually used Ray Park motion capture to capture the fucking oh my god, it looks so good. I mean, it looks so good in Clone Wars season 7. They used Ray Park to capture the choreography, and it looked great. Yeah, man, I love everything with Maul. Like if you track his arc from the beginning of Phantom Menace to where he ends up, it's one of the best arcs of any villain that we've had, easily. He just, yeah, he's got quite the story, and it's crazy because again, he really just does keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And that's kind of what I enjoy about him. I enjoy that. One of my favorite Maul scenes, I should say, more or less, is when Palpatine comes in and has that duel with him and Savage, and then so he throws Savage off the ledge and kills him or whatever. And then Maul just like he doesn't want to admit that he has a side, but the second that Palpatine takes power, like Maul just gets on his knees and goes to Palpatine. I don't know if that's more of a compliment to Palpatine or Maul, but like it's just one of my favorite Maul moments for sure. Like the fact that he's another one kind of like Rae Sloane, where he's always kind of conflicted in a way. Like he's definitely a villain because he wants to stop our heroes, so you can categorize him as that for sure. But like he's always conflicted on his side. Like what side am I taking? Like there's part of me that thinks that like if Ezra was his apprentice and like went on to be his apprentice for the rest of Rebels, and like again, like you always say, we need that Star Wars what if, where is it? But if Ezra like continued to be Maul's apprentice, in my mind, like Maul would not have actually harmed Ezra. I think that Maul would have like let him be, like I mean he would have turned Ezra dark, but I don't think he was looking to kill Ezra, you know what I mean, at any point.
Because what would he gain?
Yeah, exactly. He just would have taught Ezra the ways of the Sith. So internally, he would have damaged Ezra, but I don't think he would have physically ever damaged Ezra. Like, I think that's a really interesting thing to think about. So, yeah, I like how complicated that character is, even though it started as this little, what you can almost call a cameo in Phantom Menace in a way. Like it's this little moment, and just blossomed, I guess, throughout the rest of the lore up until the end of his demise in Rebels. I'm not convinced that he's not coming back in Ahsoka season 2 because they're going to Dathomir and Night Sister magic and all that shit. But
I mean, how many times has Maul died in our lives?
Exactly. That's what I mean. Sisyphus. He'll keep rolling that boulder up if he comes back. Why not? And yeah, man, that's my thoughts on Maul. Anything on Maul?
I mean, nothing more really to add. I mean,
yeah. So, yeah, Sam Witwer provides dope voice work for that character too.
Oh, 100%.
He always does, but like I just want to point that out as well. On top of Ray Park's work, I mean, Witwer. Oh my gosh! Oh, really quick though, one more thing I'll add about Maul. Remember when he popped up at the end of Solo, and we were like, "What?"
I was about to actually mention that.
I mean, come on.
The scene that moved everyone 2 points up, the rating 2 points up.
Exactly, it went up like 2 letter grades because of a small scene again. That's how great that character is. So, yeah, and then part of the audience was just confused. He's alive. People didn't watch Clone Wars, but they all figured it out. They caught on. Anyway, what's your next one, Josh?
All right, my next one is pretty sure y'all have is someone that got their debut.
Okay.
And the little cartoon series that came out before there's a CG Clone Wars.
Okay.
What's referred to as a macro series.
Uh-huh.
I loved this character since I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
I had their toy.
Yeah.
Their Black series is one of my favorite Black series I own.
Yeah.
And despite recent addition to their story, I still view them as a villain.
Okay.
Asajj Ventress.
Never heard of her. I'm just kidding.
Never heard of. Oh, dude, she's really cool. So basically,
no, that's actually I did not have that one. Shockingly, it's a really good character, but I was contemplating putting her on the list.
Because my brother said last night, he was like, well, I mean, she's kind of turned good. I'm like, yeah, but most of my life she's been a villain.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's valid. It's a very valid pick.
Vader turned good the last 2 minutes, but we still call him one of the tops.
No, it's a very valid pick. I mean, she is one of the main villains of Clone Wars, and so yeah, if we're talking,
her design's iconic, her voice is iconic, her lightsabers are amazing.
Yeah,
I still wish I got that box that they put out.
Yeah,
of hers. Oh God. Oh God.
Well, no, I mean, again, I mean, even if we're talking about the full arc, I enjoyed her episode of Bad Batch. It was one of the best ones in that season. Dark Disciples, one of the best canon novels because of her. The one of the things I like in her arc was her choice to help Anakin in Clone Wars determine that Ahsoka did not commit the murder. Really enjoyed that arc for her, even though she wasn't the reason I like that one so much is because she wasn't full light yet. You know, she didn't like make that complete turn, but it was the start of it, or she was actually helping Anakin.
She's always depicted as an antagonist, but it's never like like C'baoth, where it's like, haha, I'm evil for the sake of evil.
Yeah,
it's always a means to the end. Like, she has this moral compass, we just haven't fully explored it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd argue if that character wasn't written into the Clone Wars, we probably also wouldn't have Night Sisters, which is super dope.
Yeah.
So because of her, she's kind of responsible for us having Night Sisters in the canon right now. So I think that's awesome. I would also argue that, like,
is she the first appearance of someone using dual lightsabers too?
Ever?
Like on screen.
On screen, probably.
I mean, other than Maul's two, but I mean, because she has the two, or other than his dual, because she had two. I don't remember seeing other characters use those before her.
Right, I know what you mean.
I could be wrong.
But I think you're right. Was there anybody? Well, she started in the micro series, so I was just So then it would have been her. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
And that was a fighting style.
Damn it! I mean, Attack of the Clones. Anakin does it. With Dooku.
Yeah, but he just grabs the second one. Like, her fight style is based off having.
She's the first one that actually like did it from her origin. Yes, I would say on screen. The only other one was Anakin that I can think of in Attack of the Clones. They did it, on happenstance, but no, you're right. Yeah. By the way, two of my favorite hilts as well, like her lightsaber hilts.
Yeah, the curve. I wish I bought that lightsaber set they put out.
Yeah. I also think it's awesome to just have another character from Dathomir. So, like outside of Maul, to have somebody else. But you can almost argue. I don't know how much Dathomir. Well, no, that's not true, because Dathomir was EU stuff as well. But yeah, either way, just to have another character outside of Maul be from Dathomir was a really neat element, which gave us so much more information about Dathomir. Therefore, Dathomir is iconic to me now, I guess, if we don't have that character.
It's kind of weird to say there was time there wasn't a Dathomir, honestly.
I mean, I'll have to think about that, though, because I'll have to look into it. Maybe she's not necessarily responsible for Night Sisters, because I want to say maybe they were a part of the EU as well with the Maul stuff that they wrote, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. But what I will say, she is definitely responsible for Night Sisters on screen, at the very least. So I love her arc, man. I love her arc. I love her.
No, she's one of my favorite characters. Like, design-wise, everything about her is just cool.
You're right. Whoever the voice actress is, I think he brought that up already, but yeah, iconic voice.
And it's like one of the characters, like in the books and all that, when you read her, you hear that voice. Like, it just carries over.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, she was didn't make the 10, but she was one of those that was probably right at the brim. Like I would say, like she might make the 11 if this was 11.
She is the second name I put down.
She has a what? Oh, this is the second name you put down. Okay.
Yeah.
No, she was close. She was very close to making my 10. So yeah. Anything else on Asajj that you wanted to add?
I think I am good.
Okay.
I think I Ventress enough.
Perfect. Oh, really quick, one more thing I'll add about Asajj is Quinlan Vos. I mean, how much she makes that character integral, who also becomes, again, like a small character from Clone Wars, you know, that they move forward to, you know, have a big part with Asajj and
promotion.
Not only that, I guess when you think about it, how much more Dooku becomes more fleshed out because of Asajj, like that connection there, and how much she brings Dooku to the light. Dooku was another one that was on the brim there. I'm not gonna lie to you. Didn't make.
I thought you were gonna put Dooku on yours because how much you love Tales of the Sith.
Yeah. I'm
actually shocked. That's why. That's honestly one reason I put Asajj. I knew you'd probably put Dooku. That's funny.
It was a great arc. Yeah, and those two were both just like right there. But my next two, I went with obvious ones. My next one, we're going to talk about probably the biggest one, Vader. I mean,
okay.
What can you say about Vader that hasn't been said? Honestly, at this point, he's obviously, Darth Vader is the most iconic character in all Star Wars. He's arguably the best villain in cinematic history. You know, the fact that, you know, I always reference my favorite lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars still remains Empire Strikes Back, because the meaning behind the duel, and it's father and son, you know, going at it, and the son doesn't know that he's fighting his father. Something about that sticks with me. And
my favorite's the New Hope. I think that's one of the coolest lightsaber fights.
Was that
the one in the New Hope? That's the coolest lightsaber fight.
Obi Wan and Vader. No, I love that fight too, though. That's the thing about it, even though it might not have. But you know, like, that's one of the coolest things, though, is like when you go back and watch New Hope after you've seen the prequels and you understand what it means, and it's awesome. I love that one. And then, you know, everybody iconically, Revenge of the Sith, I mean, is the movie that. Revenge of the Sith, that's the thing about it. It's a Vader movie. You know what I mean? Like, it is Vader's movie. That's one of the things about that movie that people gravitate toward. And
the funniest thing is like whenever you talk to someone about the prequels, you know, it's like it's kind of changed now, obviously, but back in the day when you'd be like, oh man, I hate, they'd be like, oh man, I hate the prequels. You're like, yeah, but what about, you know, Revenge of the Sith? Oh yeah, that one's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's true.
That was always the exception to the rule was, oh well, Revenge of the Sith was pretty good.
It's true. No, myself included. I'll admit it. Like, before I, you know, found a newfound love for, at the very least, Phantom Menace. You know, Revenge of the Sith, you know, was always there. You know, and you know, I was starting to like lump it in with some of the other prequels for a bit. I'm not going to go through the whole history of my relationship with Star Wars. It's changed over the years and always does, but I will say the character of Darth Vader is always constant, and I always consider him to be the greatest cinematic villain. It's just the truth. I mean, the menacing presence in the beginning of New Hope, and I think that's part of what makes him that iconic villain for so many people, is the fact that at the beginning of New Hope, you start with the villain, and that just didn't happen that much in cinema until Star Wars. And when, you know, you start with the villain and you make him menacing right off the bat, it just works. I mean, the iconic voice performance of James Earl Jones, but also the storyline of Anakin Skywalker becoming Darth Vader. It's a great arc. I mean, it's a great arc. I mean, hero turned to villain. It just, we haven't seen it.
Turned to hero again.
Exactly. And we haven't seen it done so well since. I don't know that we ever will see it done as well as it has been done, I suppose. And the fact that it's really what's the original trilogy is really about is it's really a son not giving up on his father, and there's something beautiful in that. And then that's the Vader's the father, and that's and he's responsible for, you can call it the greatest twist in cinema history. I mean, most people do consider the twist in Empire the best twist ever in cinema. And man, what I would do to be a fly on the wall in 1980, just to see that happen for the first time with the crowd. I mean, it just, yeah, it would have been something. And you know, I still, you know, see people.
Did you know?
Yeah.
When you first watched the movies?
I must have. I don't know. I guess not. Yeah, I did, because I had the piggy bank before I saw the movie.
Oh, did it say Luke, I'm your father or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like legit trying to remember if I knew.
Yeah, I had the piggy bank that had the voice, so I guess I did know. Yeah, sadly, but I knew, and that's probably the most quotable line from cinema, man, is Luke, I'm your father. And actually the line is, it's a Mandela thing now, it's no, I am your father. Yeah. Blew my mind. But that is partly because they had toys that said Luke, I am your father, you know, that they redid it for toys.
Or that's what they want you to think.
That's what they want you to think, exactly. Yeah, we could, it's another podcast, but yeah, man, the whole arc, even if we, let's say, didn't have the prequels, and the prequels just add so much more to it, but if you didn't have the prequels and you just followed it through the original trilogy, it's a great arc right there. And then to add the prequels on top of it that enhance that arc so much, and then Clone Wars that enhance it even more, you know, it's forever. Yeah, it's the best, man. It's the best arc in all Star Wars. You can argue it's the best character in Star Wars. Might not be my favorite, but it's the best. It's the best character. Like, if you want to go from like a writing standpoint, and like how well the character was, the storytelling was written and done, and yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the best character in Star Wars. From that perspective, not my favorite, but the best. What do you got on Vader, Josh? What are some of your? Do you have a favorite Vader scene? I mean, this is a big one, so we gotta, you know.
Yeah, what can I say that hasn't been said?
I know, that's how I was feeling too. Well, I am curious. What's your favorite Vader scene? That you know?
It would probably be when he's in his little workshop, and he goes, "Are you an angel?"
I should have known that was coming.
I'm trying to think. I mean, Cloud City. Him just chilling at the dinner table.
Cloud City's great.
Yeah, that's a moment where I remember as a kid going, "Oh, buddy."
Yeah, when he grabs the gun from Han with the Force, it's fantastic. I mean, this Force Skype choke when they're on Zoom or whatever, you know, and he chokes the guy from there. That was something that was amazing. Rogue One. I mean, that little tidbit at the end of Rogue One, it like
the slasher movie.
Imagine that movie without that scene. You know, like it puts the movie over the top. The movie's already great. You can take the scene out, it's still great, but it just somehow pulls it up a whole letter grade. And then
a quote that I love of his that I do is, you know, the "no disintegration."
Oh, I love no disintegrations.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you my fan theory on that?
No.
That he said that to Boba Fett because Boba Fett's the one that torched Luke's house.
Oh, I haven't heard that, but that's
always been the theory I had on that.
That's good. That's good. I like that.
And maybe he got mad how he killed him. He's like,
yeah,
this time remember.
That's good. That's good. I haven't heard that before, but that's awesome to think about. I hadn't thought of that. Fascinating.
It's just a weird line to throw out, like, as iconic as it is, but
yeah. I remember my piggy bank also used to say, impressive, very impressive. You're not a Jedi yet. So I always love those 3 lines from the movie. I also like when he goes up to Lando and is like, I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. That's one of the best.
That's a good one.
One of the best. Another scene I'll throw out of Vader is him storming the Capitol with the stormtroopers. That's incredible. Really love that scene.
Oh, when he's marching up.
The march, yeah, the march is incredible. That's iconic. That's just that's a Hayden Christensen figure I need in my life. That look and that, that's amazing. I mean, him taking out the 9 Moidians at the end of Revenge of the Sith, man, you could just name so many scenes with Vader. It's just he's so present in this in the Star Wars zeitgeist, so to speak, and just for some reason has been like he's one constant, man. Like I know it's you take it for granted now because everybody just knows who Darth Vader is, but you take it a little bit for granted. But like when you really start to think about it and dive into it a little bit more, it's like, damn, what a great character we actually have there. That just anytime he shows up, it's impactful, man. Even in the freaking Fallen Order and Survivor game,
or like when we were kids, and I mean, I had the wait, what? Is when you see Vader without the helmet.
Yeah.
And it's just this old, gray, wrinkly old man. And it's like, huh?
Yeah. It's true. It's true. The first time you see Anakin Skywalker. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. Yeah. Whew. I love that.
His castle's dope.
His castle is dope. His castle's dope. His lightsaber's dope. It's I think the reason it sticks with us is, too, it's like it's the first person who had a red lightsaber. That's I think a whole other element of it. It's
if anything, he's the second person of a lightsaber in our eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's Luke. So
Exactly. He was adding a new flavor to, because we saw Luke's and it's this blue and it's like, and then you see the red, it's like it's adding a new flavor to the film.
And then it's like, haha, you remember that blue one that he's holding? Haha, that was his.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about Vader, this is kind of a goofy one, but in A New Hope, when he's like, I sense something, a presence I haven't felt since, and he just doesn't finish and he walks away. I always think about that. I know we already talked about the Tarkin exchanges with Vader, but like I always just love like, Vader, release him as you wish, and then just all that shit, everything.
I'm gonna be that guy, the no.
Oh yeah. No. One of the best memes ever created.
One of the first memes.
One of the first memes, that's true. Yeah.
Dude, did you ever... okay, this is gonna go back. I'm pretty sure I can find it too. Do you remember the little video someone made called the Knower Coaster?
No.
So it's Vader on a roller coaster, and he goes, no! Like, they use the audio. No, hold on, kids. This is like old school.
I remember this thing with Darth Vader. Speaking of that, when I was a kid, and I can't find it anymore. It's become a Mandela thing for me, but I specifically remember a Burger King commercial that got banned. They were trying to put in line with Revenge of the Sith. And it was Vader trying to eat a Whopper, and he couldn't eat it because he had the helmet on. And he's sitting there. It was so stupid, but the execution of it made you laugh. He's sitting there trying to shove the Whopper into his helmet, and he can't get it. And he's sitting there, And then it was like, Burger King, come get your Whopper, whatever, for whatever, a limited time.
That sounds so familiar.
And then at the very end of it, they cut back to Vader, and Vader just goes, son of a bitch. I'll just never forget that. And it was like actually James Earl Jones voicing it, I think. Like it sounded like it anyway. I'm sure somebody can do an impression, but that's one of the things I'll never forget.
I just sent it to you. Do you remember the voice changer helmets that came out for episode 3? Did you have one?
I did.
Dude, I never took that signal.
Me too. Yeah. I walked around with that and my plastic Vader lightsaber that I had.
That clipped to your belt?
Yeah.
Or your pants?
Yep.
Dude, those were awesome.
They were. Oh my god, that hilt though, man. I love that hilt on that saber. That's just, it's so cool. We kind of touched on it earlier a little bit when we were talking about Palpatine, but
well, I mean, do you know the history of Anakin's hilt and all that?
Of what?
Of Anakin's hilt?
I mean, a little bit.
I was actually explaining this to another Dom in the world.
Oh.
Because he just got Vader's lightsaber, and I'm like, oh, I can give you a little history. So, when Anakin was defeated by Dooku, right? That like was kind of his Godsmack, and he was traumatized by it, and so he focused on his lightsaber being perfect. Like he put in so much love and detail and craft into it, that it fit perfectly in his hand. It actually scared the Jedi because his lightsaber is more of an offensive than a defensive lightsaber. Like like the little hand grips at the bottom and all that. So that actually bothered the Jedi for how defensive it was, but neither here nor there. But this realized Anakin really liked that lightsaber. When he got the chance to make his own hilt as Vader, he copied that nearly 1-for-1, but bigger to fit his glove. So it is slightly wider. That made Palpatine mad because that's him holding on to the past.
Okay, so that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So that's why they're very similar, just bigger.
I think I kind of recall that because then when he got done, he finally got it right. He yelled "Yippee!" I kind of remember this.
Watch the Sega set. Watch the Sega set.
Oh, yeah.
And then read that it says 14 years ago.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, come on. Let me see this. I might have seen this. I don't know. Nuller coaster. Yeah, wow. I don't remember this at all. This is really interesting. What the hell? Is that like an Adult Swim thing?
No, it was there was a website years ago called You're the Man Now, Dog.
Yeah.
And that was one of them, and it just played that in a loop.
Yeah. Oh, quick Palpatine thing though, because I just brought up Adult Swim. I just want to make sure we say this before we move on.
Seth MacFarlane?
Well, no, I'm thinking about the one of my favorite Palpatine things that we forgot to mention when we were talking Palpatine was a go for Palpatine in Adult Swim. Or not Adult Swim. Robot Chicken.
Yeah, that's Seth MacFarlane that voices him.
Is it? In the
Seth MacFarlane voices Palpatine.
Oh, yep. I didn't know that. That actually makes sense. Yep, I can almost hear it now. Yeah, wow. Didn't know that was a go for Palpatine. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that because we forgot on the Palpatine category. Anyway, Vader, I'm sure you guys can comment more shit that we missed about Vader, but that's one of the best in Star Wars. What do you got next, Josh?
So I'm gonna really stir some pots. But this is not me stirring controversy. I've made this argument to you before.
Okay.
So since you picked Vader, I'm gonna go because you don't have Vader. If you don't have, and this is on my villain pick.
Okay.
Obi Wan.
You're joking.
No, legit. I've said this to you before. I do view Obi Wan as a villain.
He's one of the worst Jedi ever, though, because he lets Vader go.
Not even that. I mean, not even that. Like,
I'm kidding, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the hypocrisy of him. Number one. You can't be as Padme because attachments. Meanwhile, he's got a chick on the side.
I don't look at it as a villain, though, because his intention is not to stop our heroes.
Bro, he stopped our hero. He literally took the Chosen One, put him in, gaslit him, told him not to live this way, suppresses him. Till he explodes, goes nuts, kills everyone. I'm
not here to argue interpretations.
Then he says, well, that's not enough. Let's find his boy. So he goes to protect his boy, goes to the boy one night and goes, Vader killed your father. Oh, really? Yeah, why not? Why did he lie to Luke? Why did he lie to Luke?
It was from a certain point of view.
Yeah, man, that's the number one gaslighter's defense. Oh, no, dude, like, from a certain point of view, man, like, come on.
I don't know. But for me, if you want my honest opinion, I always just thought he's on a different side of the Force, man, so...
Nah.
He knows what the Force is willing.
Nah, he's kind of a scumbag. Kind of a scumbag.
It's interpretive. If that's who you want to list as that, then I'm gonna let you. But
And then we want to have bro. Here's another saying, man. He cuts off Vader's arms and legs, watches him burn to death, and doesn't even finish the job. He just leaves them there suffering. How is that the positive side of the Force? What is positive about leaving you armless and legless,
I don't know,
screaming on fire? He's like, I loved you, Anakin.
It's the charm.
You made me do this.
It's the charm.
You made me.
Of George
you
logic.
made me do this. That's the most abusive thing ever.
It's the charm of George logic.
George logic. Man, that's a
fine. If that's how you interpret it, it's the charm of George logic.
Like, dude, I watch horror adventures, man. That dude's up there with Art the Clown. He cut off a man's arms and legs, let him burn to death. You screaming in agony.
You just define villain in a different way, because I just see it. If the intention is to stop our heroes, and that's not the intent, regardless if he said certain things the way he did or whatever. For me, it's not the intent.
It's pretty bad intent.
If you look at it that way, that's fine.
Cut off a man's arms and legs and watch him burn and scream in agony as you yell, "I loved you."
Okay, that's the one you want to go with.
That's the one I'm standing on.
I'm just not going to add because I don't have any. I don't agree.
You're going to start looking at your big Kenobi figure a little different. You go, that nice old man's kind of not a good guy.
I just don't agree with you on this, but it's okay that you feel that way.
You're gonna call up the other Star Wars peanut gallery and you go, guys, I got some bad news about our Obi-Wan.
No, I don't like the way the Obi-Wan show interpreted him in certain ways. I mean, we can argue
I think it's the most honest. I think they're unveiling that's the truth on the monster.
Yeah, but
wait for my next pick.
It's going to be interesting. All right.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is my last one. If you got nothing more on Obi-Wan,
I have 2 left. How are you down to your last one? Did I overdo? 1, 2.
Yeah, recount there.
6, 7, 8. I got 10.
I'm willing to overlook Obi-Wan here. Hang on.
Yeah, I got 10, dude. You should have 2 more.
6. I have 10 as well. We didn't miss anybody. That's odd.
Yeah, I still got 2. I know, buddy.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10. We talked about Baylan.
Yeah, I got 10, and I have 2.
Hang on. Confirm or deny. We talked about Baylan.
Baylan.
Jod.
Yes.
Joruus.
Yes.
Sheev Palpatine.
Yes.
Pellaeon.
Yes.
Grand Moff Tarkin.
That's okay. That's why. That's why you're in the last one because I talked
because
about
we crossed over. Yeah. Okay. So why don't you read your next one then? Then. Yeah.
Okay. It does tie into what I just said.
Okay.
All right. Padme.
I don't see it your way, but okay.
All right. So you're a gal, right? You're a gal. You're on a date with a fella, and the fella just goes, "You know what's really rad? My political girlfriend." And you go, "Oh, what?" And you go, "Fascism." Imagine if there was one absolute power, and that was me. And then you just go, "Oh, you." Fast forward to yours.
I'll say this.
Fast forward to your.
You have a better argument here than you did for Obi-Wan, I feel.
Obi-Wan cut his arms and legs off.
Yeah.
Let him burn to death. Hours of suffering he would have inflicted on him. He could have just ended it right there.
Yeah.
Tell me there's no malice behind that.
I don't think that was the intent.
He could just have killed him easily.
Yeah. I think the man
Just
was
finished his
distraught.
job. Mercy. You know, was there more distraught? The man who lost his arms and legs was on fire.
Let's stay with Padme. You almost had me biting there with Padme. So
Okay, I'm not done with Padme because I got the other smoking gun. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
So your second. So you're on your second day with this fellow, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, Anakin, what's wrong? I slaughtered them all like animals. The women, the children.
Yeah.
And you
make a
go,
good point for this one.
Oh, you're such a goof.
You make a valid
such
point.
a goof.
I'll give you this one. See, I'll give you this one a little bit more. Because
Like, she saw all these red flags and this one, meh.
yeah, you're not wrong. It's a little weird. I've always said the part where she just kind of writes off the fact that he slaughtered that, you know, the Sand people. Like, I always thought that was odd myself.
Yeah, like,
Yeah. Politician.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not defending it. I'm saying politician.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like,
Some people view them as a little bad.
I think you have an interesting conversation to bring up here with Padme because, like, honestly, it is that politician mindset, and a lot of it parallels a lot of what we
blind eye to the people close to me and going to go after the ones further away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, there's a lot of red flags immediately, and she just goes, okay, whatever.
You're right. I'm gonna bite on this
It's just so dang cute.
I'm gonna bite on this one though. You're not wrong. I mean, like, there's a lot of red flags there, and she does ignore the red flags. I mean, don't think it was the intent of the storytelling. So would I personally categorize her as a villain? No, but I think you bring up an interesting point and an interesting conversation. I will give you that, and I think that there's again. Yeah, man. You know, I mean, I think another thing to support your argument, she doesn't give up Anakin's position at the end, even though knowing what she knows, she doesn't. I mean, Obi Wan has to sneak his way onto her ship before she does the right thing. She does do something in your defense to stop our hero. You know, the only reason that. I don't know, man. I don't know. You make a good point on this one. I will give you this one. Yeah. I never interpreted Padme as a villain, but you make more valid arguments here, I feel, than you did on your last one. But
nah, Obi-Wan, I got him dead to rights.
I don't know, man. But this one I must say it's valid. I think you're valid. But man, see, the things I would bring up as Padme as a character, I mean, you know, she does kind of a lot of like very dirty political things though. I mean, like her sneaking around with Anakin, you know, I mean, we have that great Clone Wars episode where she has his lightsaber because they were sneaking around, and it kind of does, because she took the lightsaber with her, it kind of does turn into this whole hostage situation. I think the episode's called Hostage Crisis. I think that's the one where they're being held hostage, and she has to get Anakin her lightsaber back. But yeah, you make interesting points on this one. I will say I don't agree, but I think you make interesting points.
Like, could you imagine if the people found out, like, in that universe? Like, if there was, like, the tell-all, like, the dossiers come out. Did you know that?
Well, no, you're not wrong. And that plays into the Bloodline novel a little bit, too, by the way, where the people do find out, like, you know, many, many years down the road, what was going on there. And again, like I said, Leia's kind of criticized for that being her lineage. And, you know, so you're not entirely wrong, you know. It does play in later in that way. I just did not expect that pick, but it's interesting the way that you see it. So I will say that. Even with your last two picks, I'll say it's interesting the way you see it. I don't agree, but it's interesting the way you see it. I will give you that. Very creative mind on that. Anything else on Padme?
No, I think we got her.
All right. And I'll take the bait on that one. I'll take the bait. All right. So my last one, not your last one, but maybe your last one if it crosses over. We'll see. My last one is Thrawn.
No, Thrawn
Okay.
is not one.
Interesting. Okay. So
Because
I know you didn't want to go with the obvious. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I know you didn't want to go with the obvious, but we do have to talk about Thrawn if we're talking about our favorite villains. Thrawn is actually become my favorite villain of Star Wars. Upon going through more of the literary pieces and things, yeah, man. I mean, he's exactly what I want from a villain. Calculated, 5 steps ahead of everybody. That expression, cooler heads will prevail. He's the cooler head in the room,
He's
at all
the
times.
coolest head.
He's the coolest head in the room. He's always calm and collected, even in that like one scene in Ahsoka where she gets them all angry and we get to see Lars in live action make an angry Thrawn face, which was awesome. He immediately comes back to reality and
there goes gravity.
Exactly, sure. And then he starts to he gets a cooler head. A cooler head did prevail, and he ended up winning at the end of Ahsoka, in all honesty. And yeah, I think that's Thrawn
Rain
for you.
hellfire upon them.
Yeah, exactly. That line's amazing. I there's so many good ones. I mean, his relationship with Eli Vanto, and that sort of well, call it manipulation or whatever you want to call it, but the way that he just works his way, man, like much like Palpatine works his way through the political ranks, and it manipulates Palpatine to get himself into the Imperial ranks. That was a chapter in that book. Let me tell you, buddy, in that Canon Thrawn novel, when he's playing Palpatine, you're like, oh my god, like this has never been done before. Like he is just so intelligent beyond belief. I mean, and people talk about like, it's like he's an evil man. It's like, is he evil? A villain, I'll give you, but is he evil? Because he's always a man
to an end.
He's always a man of his word, though. You know what I mean? Like, you talk about him and Sabine, and he lets Sabine go, as per the deal. It's like he's a man of his word. He's a survivalist. You know what I mean? That's what he is. He survives. Thrawn's a survivor, and that's what he understands about the Star Wars universe. Much like your Padme point, politician, sure, but survivor, and works his way the way he needs to, does what he needs to do. And I mean, I love his man. Do you remember the moment in Rebels? This is one of the big points I bring up when he figures out that Callus is the traitor. It's like it's amazing, and just the way that he uses like. Oh, there was something about the way that he used like art to figure that out and piece everything together.
That's some of my favorite parts with his characters. Whenever he uses their culture to go, well, this means this and this would go to this.
Yeah. He's very perceptive. That's the word I'm looking for. He's very perceptive.
Yeah. Well, like there's I do think it's an era of the Empire. They're planning on leaving the Millennium Falcon through a shuttlecraft. And they come up with this plan.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, and we'll go this way and we'll go out that way. And then that way they'll think we're here and it'll be a diversion. Then the next chapter is from Thrawn's point of view where he goes,
yeah,
that door stood open for 4 seconds longer than it should have. And it's like he read the chapter before and he goes, I bet you they're going to do this. And they're going to
no, you're right.
It's almost comedic.
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying. Like it's the fact that he's just always on top of it and in ways that you don't think he would be, and that's what I like about the way that the character is usually written, is he's on top of things even the audience wasn't thinking of, watching the content or reading the book that he's in. It's just I'll give you a big thank you. You're probably the reason I like Thrawn so much, because I'd heard of Thrawn, but when you told me he was your favorite Star Wars character at one point in time, or favorite villain, I think at one point, it was one of those things.
He's been my favorite for a long time.
I was gonna say, it was one of those things I was like, really? And then I started diving into the literary pieces to see what it's all about, and yeah.
What hit with Thrawn with me is growing up, one of my favorite book characters and favorite books growing up was Ender's Game.
Mm-hmm.
And reading him read like Ender in Star Wars, like this very
No,
smart,
it's true,
strategic
yeah. I
character.
could see that.
Like,
Yeah.
like you know the part where Thrawn loses a fight on purpose in the hallway with Eli and like the
Oh yeah,
first
yeah,
book?
yeah.
That reminded me so much of why Ender's like when he did the one fight. It's like, well, you won the fight. Why did you break his arm? Well, I broke his arm because the second friend is going to get a smart idea.
Yes.
Then I did this so he would remember. And then I did like
Yeah.
the strategy of what he did looked barbaric at the time, but it was actually to prevent violence in the future. And that's very much like what I love about Ender. And when I see Thrawn do stuff like that, I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah. I think Timothy Zahn's just such a great writer, and then that's what it comes down to. I mean, without Zahn, I mean, Thrawn is Zahn's voice, you know, at the end of the day. Like Zahn created that, and it's such a great addition to Star Wars. And
Also why he's banned from his planet.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to do a preemptive strike because he calculated a risk. Like, it makes me think of Batman versus Superman, where Batman's like, if there's 1% of a possibility, then I must treat it as an absolute certainty.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I love that type of character.
Yeah, no, it's so true. I mean, one of the greatest joys of my life was meeting Timothy Zahn and just being able to thank him for the character. Like, it really is this amazing thing. And like, you know,
one of my prized possessions is my signed very first Thrawn figure.
Yeah.
From Power of the Force by him.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thrawn is incredible, and just like and I think it's the proof that like the smarter the villain, the scarier they are. You know what I mean? Like it's the truth, because that is the thing about Thrawn is like he feels like a threat. One of my favorite lines was and I can't remember the line, so it sucks. Like that, I wanted to bring it up, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But that first line when he first comes into Ahsoka, where it's like, "Oh, what was once a bad day is now." It's my paraphrase. Whatever.
I know you're talking about that. Yeah.
Oh my god! It was.
How they introduced him in Ahsoka.
It was amazing.
It almost feels like
our first live action appearance. Yeah, they did not disappoint on his first live action appearance. It was quite the entrance, and it was just like it was on point with Thrawn. The chanting going on, you know, when he was coming out, it was just like, oh my gosh, like it's one of my favorite Ahsoka episodes because of it. Oh man, that Thrawn is one of my favorite. He's my favorite villain, but he's just one of my favorite characters on top of that, because
like I mean, you remember how excited I was, or you were too, and the Ahsoka episode where she goes, "Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" It's like, they dropped him. They name dropped him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it was exciting, and also, my first experience with Thrawn was the canon novel, Thrawn, the first one that Zahn wrote for canon. And I just remember at first I remember not enjoying the novel because it just in the beginning parts, because like it just didn't feel as Star Wars as I was hoping. But then like it was really just the brilliance of like once I realized what the novel was doing and what purpose it actually served in Star Wars, which was actually to like really develop this character and get inside his head in a way. Like I love the little italics when you're just inside his head, and that's just like it's such a psychological novel too at the same time of being like a Star Wars one. And I think that's what's interesting about Thrawn is the psychology of the character more so than a lot of other characters. Seeing how he gets there, the Heir of the Empire stuff is great. And it's the reason that the character came to be is that trilogy, but that trilogy of books. But like at the end of the day, what I also love is that expansion that we got in the canon novels as well, where it's like, okay, now Zahn is showing the work. How did Thrawn get to these conclusions now? Like, how does he, let's get inside his head a little bit and figure out how he gets there. And then also learning about the Alliance's novel is also brilliant because it's that, duality between him working with Vader, him knowing that Vader was Anakin without Vader
just off how he walked.
Exactly.
It's how he carried himself and how he walked.
Exactly. Without Vader knowing that Thrawn knows who he is at first, and then Thrawn using that to his advantage to get to Vader, but then also like the duality of like, oh yeah, I knew you before you were Vader, and then like going back and forth between those two stories, the fact that he helped Vader or Anakin at the time save Padme, it's just it's all these like things that like he used to get the Vader, who we just went on a diatribe about being one of the best villains. The fact that Thrawn can even trump him in certain situations is just fascinating.
Also,
yeah,
like he's so good that the Empire made it's a level just that only he's reached.
It's true.
Grand Admiral, and then the fact that Palpatine's xenophobic, and that he didn't care that he was an alien. He goes, "I need this guy."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's the truth. And then you also have, well, really quick, actually, going back to the Vader connection too. One of the great moments was when he realized Ahsoka. The moment he realized Ahsoka is the apprentice of Anakin, and I love that the show actually decided to call back to the Alliance's novel in that way, and then use that to its advantage. And then the fear that came, not the fear, but like the fact that he was still. You could sense that little bit of trepidation once he figures out who Ahsoka is, and then it's
what is it? Trained by Skywalker, that makes her unpredictable.
Yeah, like I like that he doesn't have such like Tarkin was like destroyed by his own ego, but that won't happen to Thrawn because Thrawn is very upfront and honest. Like he knows when somebody's a threat. Like he knows Ahsoka's more of a threat because. His ego is not getting the better of him. He's like, no, we need to be upfront about this. This is a threat. This is a problem. We need to get out of it. And he is. And he thinks ahead in that way. The part where his little speech in Ahsoka about Ahsoka's lost the one thing that she couldn't afford today, time. Like that was incredible. When oh man, the magistrate doesn't realize what he's doing the whole time. Like she's thinking he's wasting his time and wasting troopers, and he's like, no. I've taken the one thing.
I'm just running that clock.
Yep, I've taken the one thing from Tano that she couldn't afford to lose, which was time. I thought that moment was brilliant, and man, what a voice Lars has brought to it, and not only Lars but Mark Thompson in the audiobooks. Two mind-blowing voices that have given this character a voice, like just incredible stuff, man. And it's interesting how they both like Mark Thompson and Lars both have different approaches to the character, but if you showed me both of them doing that character, it's the same character still. You know what I mean? Like it's still a seamless, like
they work with
they both understand the character, which I really enjoy. But yeah, man, that's my thing on Thrawn. If you guys, for those of you listening to this podcast, if you've not dove into any of the literary content with Thrawn, that's my number one recommendation before you even do the aftermath stuff. Like, dive into some Thrawn. I mean, it's some mind-blowing writing that Zahn does. I think it's some of the best writing in Star Wars is the Thrawn stuff. But all right, Josh, you got your last one, man, and we're gonna wrap it, I guess, after this. But what's your last villain?
My last one is Valin Hess.
Who?
Valin Hess.
Explain, educate me.
All right.
We probably should have
in Mandalorian.
No offense.
in Mandalorian, it was Richard Brake's character.
Oh, very good. All right, I like this character.
Yeah,
this is a good one.
Because I was sitting there because I knew you were going to go with Thrawn, and I was thinking of like, I was like, well, this character doesn't have much screen time, but I mean, here's Tarkin.
Yeah.
But in that short time we had with him, you got this.
He was great.
Gross. Just demented almost. Like,
yes. That exchange with him and Bill Burr. Oh.
Yeah.
It's one of the best. Yeah.
Uncomfortable, most tense moments I think you get in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And then he does, Richard Brake is an amazing actor. That grin he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. That whole exchange is just.
Yeah.
It felt real.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it didn't feel like a Star Wars villain. It felt like this guy is someone you run into at the gas station, and he's like, "Yeah, I was in the war. Don't say."
It's crazy. I've never actually like looked into what's this character's name because, or like remembered it more so, or seeped it into my mind because the line, "What's your name, officer?" that lives rent free in my head. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, that character is so good, and it's the moment where the from the first moment he walks up to Din Djarin, helmetless, you know, and then it's like that. We'll talk about Matt Mando and Pedro more probably next week, but like the fact that, you know, Pedro immediately looks traumatized, and you go from that to the Bill Burr exchange, and the fact that Burr knows him, like that whole thing is just it's one of the most tense scenes in the entire Mandalorian season 2, and it's made me like appreciate that episode so much more upon a rewatch. Like that episode is actually one of my favorite Mando episodes now in retrospect. Dude, yeah, that was a good call on that one. I wouldn't have thought to bring him up, but he's a good call.
Like if they did a book on him, I would read it.
I probably would too. Yeah,
because I just know he is something awful.
Yeah. I mean, he's also, oh damn, another line from him that lives rent free in my head is a brown ass, you know.
Yeah,
like that's he's so good.
Like he's that weird guy you run into at the gas station.
He really is. He really is. But you you could tell that it's you know what makes it so interesting is like he has enough of a presence that they didn't because ultimately they end up just shooting their way out of this whole thing. But he has enough of a menacing presence that they did entertain him for a little bit. You know, I think that they were kind of like, you know, he has enough of a thing there that like over them that they're like, let's entertain this guy for a bit. You know, and like you could tell that Burr, there's actually so much history where you wouldn't think there would be, but it's a lot of it's in just acting alone or performances alone, because the way that Bill Burr is like feeling very intimidated, you could tell, and you could tell even before he shoots the blaster, he's hesitant to do it. You know what I mean? Because you could tell that this guy put Burr through a lot of shit back in the day, you know, or you know, the hatred that the Bill Burr character has for him is crazy. I know that character has a name. I'm just going to keep calling him Bill Burr, but Mayfeld. There you go. The fact that Mayfeld is just it's like he gets scared immediately when he sees him. It's like everything was going smooth, and then that's what makes that character such a good villain. It's like, but that guy, we don't want to cross him, you know.
That, like, you know, he's got a necklace of Jawa ears.
Yeah.
And Jawas don't even got ears.
For sure. Like, he is, yeah, he, like you said, strange guy. Strange guy you run into at the gas station, but yeah, like, ooh, yeah. There's
man, I just realized a bit I was going to do, and I totally forgot it.
Mm.
I was going to say my number 10 was Kanan Jarrus.
Oh.
Just mess with you for a minute.
Damn.
But we got two wrapped into Thrawn. Oh, well.
Yeah. He's another one of those characters, though, that I also kind of looked at as like, he might not be he's done some pretty shitty things and things that make you not want to cross him, but you also are kind of like, you understand that he's just really doing whatever it takes to do his job at the same time, like the way he's kind of describing the missions and things. Yeah. Even if it means that innocent lives get lost. But
he seems like the type of person that, like, when he went to war, he liked it.
Yeah.
And it was an outlet for something that's inside of him.
Yeah. Like, guys like him are the reason the Empire sucks. You know what I mean? It's like because of guys like him that like war and want to be there and want to kill. Because we've talked about characters that are conflicted about all that stuff, but he's kind of on the opposite end of that, where it's like, well, I don't care if people die, you know. It's like I, you know, if it gets the job done, you know, it's like, I don't care, well, fuck them, you know. And that's a really fascinating thing that's a side of it that you like to dive into as well. You know, and there's probably and we know for a fact that there's people like that in the rebellion side as well. It's like, so it's interesting to also dive into that, into the Empire side. You know what I mean? Those people that are just
the Empire has Saw Gerrera,
yeah,
which would be like the other end of him.
yeah. But I think that when you're talking about that type of character, even though we know that they're common throughout the Empire, because the Empire is painted as the villain of the story. Like, the thing about this character in particular that you brought up, that's just really thinking about it now, is I don't think we've been on screen with somebody like him for this amount of time. You know what I mean?
Like a foot soldier that's just loves what he's doing.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Well, we're well over the 2-hour mark. I thought this was going to be a shorter episode, but we actually managed to fill the time pretty well. Anything else on this character? Or?
No, that was basically it. I mean, there's not much to him, but I think his short time is really well used.
Yeah,
and very memorable.
I was gonna quickly list honorable mentions, but we already kind of touched on mine anyway, which was like Dooku and Ventress. Like we already kind of touched on them. So those are 2 honorable mentions I'd probably throw in there, and because they were very hard for me not to put on the list. Kylo Ren's like the best part of the sequels, so I'll throw him in, and whatever. So yeah, anyway, guys, this is it. This is the end of our favorite villains. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly enjoyed doing this. Like, this is like the first time in a while we've been able to do something that wasn't a part of like what's going on currently, with Star Wars.
Something not restricted.
Exactly. Like it felt a little less constraint, so I enjoyed this.
So Dom.
Yes.
It's on this little piece of paper.
What's that?
The first name of the heroes list.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to that hopefully next week. We'll see what pops up, unless something like earth-shattering happens. I'm sure that's what we're doing next week.
This first name is going to get an hour.
Okay, interesting. Luke Skywalker. No, I was kidding. But that would probably justify an hour. We'll see.
You already know who it is.
I don't, but we'll talk later. Oh yeah, okay, never mind. I know who it is. All right, never mind. All right, so yeah, next week we'll hopefully do heroes. But yeah, this was another fun one to do with you, Josh. I appreciate you being here, and we're going to continue to put these out. Before we get out of here, a couple things I want to mention. 91% of my viewers on average are not subscribed to the channel, so please do that if you could, if you're watching on YouTube. For Spotify, you can actually, I believe now, rate and review everything. If you're on Spotify or Apple, do that. And yeah, before we go, you can follow me on Instagram at Dom Rambles. Josh, is there anything you want to plug?
Nothing really.
All right, cool. He'll be here. So, all right, guys. Thank you for joining again. Before we get out of here, if you like the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, hit the bell for notifications. It's always much appreciated. My name is Dom. That's Josh, and we will talk to you guys later.